Hey everybody, welcome to another super exciting Art of War stream. Today, we are going to be ranking every Warhammer preview that Games Workshop has been so gracious to give us about 10th edition. I'm super excited, and I'm here with not Jack, not John, not Seeks. I'm here with one of our other Art of War coaches from the Canadian North, Rizvan Scary Martinez.
Hello everyone, welcome to the tier list. I consider this combo S tier.
Oh, and the puns just start coming. For those of you who may not know, we are a competitively focused Warhammer 40k content channel. We do things like teach you and how to help you get better at Warhammer. We want you to learn the game and become your best. Today, we're going to go through all the different factions, all the different previews that Games Workshop's given us, and rank them with respect to how good we expect they'll be. Obviously, this is super preliminary. We don't have all the information yet, but I did have the pleasure of playing 10th edition over at Games Workshop at the USKC Open. I'm super excited. An amazing game.
Ganyo versus Nick, that's on the Warhammer Twitch page. I think that's it's going to be available for people to watch.
Twitch.tv/Warhammer. We did tons of previews of all kinds of data sheets that are not spoiled on the Warhammer community page. So they are spoiled on the GW Twitch channel if you want to go take a look. I'm sure with a quick little Google search, you can find it pretty much all over the internet as well.
100%. Well, I'm really excited about this. So the way this is going to work, we're basically going to go through the different faction focuses. We're going to remind you all kind of like what the sort of like faction rule was and whatnot, and then one at a time, we're going to rank them, and we're going to let you know which ones we think show the most promise and are spicy, and which ones are cold as ice.
Cold as ice. But don't forget, everybody, let us know what you think by leaving us a comment. If you disagree with our choices, you can't. We're always right. If you agree with them, if you just want to see what other stuff is, if you have your own thoughts on it, let us know in the comments. Like the video if you like the video, or if you like Scary's hair. Either one will qualify. And subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep producing this kind of content for you. Our ability to produce this content and just get it out there completely depends on your support for us, so we can't thank you enough for all that.
Yeah, don't forget, there is a 3-day trial to the War Room using the code that you can see on your screen or in the description down below. Mm-hmm. So make sure you sign up today for some additional content. Tens of videos on the new stuff that'll be coming out as well.
Soon to be hundreds.
Soon to be hundreds. And we broke down all of the missions and like all of the 10th edition, like how to play stuff. It's fantastic. So,
and then as we get more information on all these indexes and more rules for 10th edition come to light, you better best bet that we are going to be breaking all that down in the War Room as quickly as possible with as much accuracy as we can. And as we get better at 10th edition, don't worry, we'll be sharing all that information with you. So check out below in the link. Are you ready, Scary?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
You're born ready. All right.
I am born ready. So, because we've got multiple screens going on at once, do pardon the man reads phone part of this whole process.
Hey, we got 2 monitors plus a phone plus a camera. This is what it takes to bring the content to you.
That's usually how it works. So there's a couple of different things. So let's begin with, what do you want to begin with? Start from Space Marines all the way down?
Well, I was just going to go in order of
let's
this
do that.
whole sheet thing.
Let's go in the order of the sheet. So we got Custodes first.
Adeptus Custodes.
Excellent. So Custodes, the katas are still going to be a thing, right? I do feel like the katas are like very versatile. Yeah. Like based on like what we know of how the game plays, you can like pick a kata in the fight phase, and you can get like +1 to -1 to be hit, so like very much like Shadowkeeper style, or you can do like exploding 6s in combat, or you can get like auto wounding on 6s. So, you know, that, and they showed off like the 4-up feel no pain against mortal wounds.
Yeah. So
right? For the detachment.
Stuff they still have is still there.
Yeah, and Trajan, still a boss.
Still a boss.
Still a boss.
We don't have any idea how much Custodes cost, though, and that's always going to be such a factor when you're playing an Elite Army. Like, how many of these awesome Terminator-type models can I get onto my table?
Yeah. Like, if I were to say, like, looking at the, say, Alaris Custodians and Trajan, he definitely puts the faction on his back a lot of the time. And something I would like to see, I can't really is I'd like to see the forgeable stuff for Custodes. Because Custodes historically rely a lot on that forgeable,
they have
like
so
Imperial
few data
armor
sheets
stuff.
in their codex.
Right. So you want to supplement it with a lot of stuff. So we can't really make a like power determination on them. I'd say right now I'd put them on like a yellow B. I wouldn't like. I'd say they have the potential of being good, but they also are very thin line for being like not good.
It's always such a It's very Custodes historically have been amazing and they have been terrible, and it's a needle's hair between the two lines for them. I would say, with respect to what I understand 10th edition, having now played a game and commentated a little bit over the weekend, Custodes seem like they'll dominate the primary aspect of the mission, which of course, as you know, you can score up to 50 points on primary. Their secondary game, I think, may actually challenge them, though. Traditionally, Custodes are not the fastest faction. The regular dudes move 6 inches, and largely speaking, I don't see any reason why that'll change. The bikes are always fast, and, you know, the dreadnoughts may add an element of speed. But what I found doing the tactical objectives is they really reward you for just being able to adapt your plan in the middle of the game. So
being
you may,
able to boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
now I'm over here, now I'm over there.
Exactly.
So you may want to pick a strategy that's like fixed objectives and, you know, whatever that might be, like defend stronghold or storm hostile objectives. Those are good ones for the Custodes. It's very hard to call at this point. I think without having the whole context of the game, let's just toss them in B tier and move them around as we see fit.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's good. And then when we come back and actually take a like closer look, when we have more information, this will change.
This is like a bit of a living tier list.
Correct.
We'll adjust it as we go.
Correct.
And, you know, if something doesn't look right, you know, we can always fix that as well.
That sounds like a plan. Okay, what is next? We've got... Is that Adeptus Mechanicus?
This is the good old-fashioned Admech.
Okay. We're not going to let Siegler's bias get to me.
Okay, so let me guess. Siege thinks Admech are the best faction in the game and we should all become victims of the Messiah.
That's right. He just wants us to all be lobotomized machine servitors with guns.
Let's not do that.
Yes, he wants us to join the machine. So their faction rules, they've got their Doctrina Imperatives. So basically they get to pick one or the other at the start of like every battle round. They can either get all their weapons, get the heavy keyword, and if you're in your own deployment zone, you have like armor contempt, so you are more protected. Or you can get all your ranged weapons be assault, and if you're attacking something in your opponent's deployment zone, you get +1 AP.
They also do a lot of mortals into different areas of the board.
With the rad bombardment. Mm-hmm. So basically in the first battle round, you basically make your opponent choose to either take D3 mortal wounds on a 3+ or be battle shocked.
So it doesn't sound that powerful off the bat, but there's ways you can keep this going. And if you decide, I'm not going to fail battle shocks, I like to use stratagems and control my objectives, I'm going to just roll 3-ups and hope I don't take mortals. You're going to end up taking a lot of mortals. And different armies will care about that at different rates, right? Like, so Custodes, they're a super elite army. They may be like, I don't want mortal wounds, I'll just rely on my...
Even with that 4-up, feel no pain.
Yeah,
like
you don't have that many wounds to lose.
Correct. Like, you could just not roll them. And then continuing on from second to fifth battle round, you're taking mortal wounds every, like, if you're in your deployment zone on a 3+, every one of your units can take a mortal wound. Like, throughout so that's another 5 mortal wounds throughout the course of the game that you might be taking.
The way I think Admech will function is that they are going to force a lot of interaction because people who sit in their deployment zone against Admech are just going to passively die. So they're going to want to, you're going to want as the opponent of Admech to kind of come into midfield, which is where their powerful firepower and their Secure and Ruststalkers, infiltrators, that's when they can start attacking you and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, now they did preview the Skitarii Vanguard, and something that kind of like makes me nervous about the faction is a lot of their special and heavy weapons and stuff are hitting on like 5s and 4s.
That's
like their ballistic skill like went way down. It's like they're forcing you that if you want to hit better, you have to stay like stationary and be in your deployment zone to get the benefit of that heavy, and it makes me kind of sad. So I'm not like the fact that like I don't like that personally.
Yeah, me either. And we also kind of learned that Call is being the Primarch Chapter Master style equivalent model for this faction. He's not quite as powerful as some of the other ones, giving just his aura of rerolls is only reroll 1s, not like reroll hits or reroll wounds like some of the other ones.
Definitely no Oath of Moment.
It's no Oath of Moment. It's hard to say, again, we don't have context of points. We are only using the mission, the data available to us, which is currently the Leviathan box set, which contains the missions and the rules, and we're using the GW previews that you can find on the Warhammer community website. I'm genuinely not super impressed with what I'm seeing from Admech. I think it can do a lot of damage to the more elite armies. It can flip scenarios if someone decides to take the battle shock instead of the morals, but they fail the battle shocks.
Yep. I think it is not the worst.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's the worst, but it's definitely not mid-tier. I feel like it would be struggling right now without more context.
I'm thinking C tier for these guys.
I agree. I think that is where I would put them as well.
And of course, take all this with a grain of salt. We're working on such little information relative to what the entire indexes will provide us, but without the points, without more information, you can only do so much. Based on the previews, though, we got quite some details.
Okay, what is next?
Blood Angels.
Blood Angels, Black Templars, Blood Angels, and is that Death Watch nearby? Why don't we do all three of them together? Find a Death Watch one.
Death Watch.
So it's Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Death Watch, Space Wolves, and Black Templars.
You want to do all Space Marines?
Well, because they're in the same faction focus.
Yeah, that's
so we
fair,
might as well just like crush them all out at the same time, and we'll do them in order here. So the first one here would be the Dark Angels. Okay.
The dark. Oh, we're switching the the codexes around.
Well, because that's how it is in this thing here.
I got hands. I can click buttons. I get it.
Wait, you know how to use technology?
I have been trained in the art of servitude.
Oh my goodness!
I have my mecha tendrils plugged into the mainframe.
So Grim Resolve is the detachment rule for Space Marines. Now, first of all, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Black Templars, and Death Watch all have Oath of Moment.
So Oath of Moment, remind us what that one is again?
So it's at the start of their player turn. Mm-hmm. The Space Marines can pick an enemy unit, and every single model in the Space Marine army that's Adeptus Astartes gets reroll hits and reroll wounds against that unit.
That's pretty strong.
It's marked for death, is what it is.
Yeah, there's fewer rerolls in 40k, so that's a pretty good rule.
That is a fantastic rule. Now, what changes is the detachment special rule. So basically, your Dark Angels, your Blood Angels, your Templars, and your Death Watch get to have a specific detachment that gives them a specific rule. Now, normally the Space Marine detachment we'll get to, you get like a rule that you can use once per game. The Devastator Doctrine, the Assault Doctrine, the Tactical Doctrine. Mm-hmm. In Dark Angels, they get Grim Resolve, which is when they fail a battle shock test, their OC, instead of going to 0, goes to 1.
So basically, that's not even a big deal then. Like, the biggest thing, in my opinion, about failing a battle shock test, of course, not being able to use strats can mess up a plan, but generally speaking, you're not holding an objective with a unit that needs to be holding an objective seems to be the big deal about that. I think that's awesome, because it means your one little dude who survived can, no matter what, hold an objective.
That's right. And it means that you're just going to hold your home objective no matter what. It's reliable primary scoring, right? No matter how badly you're getting beat, there's a chance that you're always going to be holding your primary points.
And also, a lot of these factions that we're seeing, like Daemons and Admech that we just did, they do a lot of shenaniganery to make opponents fail battle shocks as part of their primary plan. And Dark Angels just don't even
They
notice.
don't care. They previewed the Deathwing Command Squad, which is a giant unit of 10 Terminators that has an Apothecary in it that brings back a model every turn.
So, if it's anything like 9th edition in current 40k, this unit is already a bear to take down. It's super durable, it's obsec, it's fearless, it just stands on the objectives. Attacking it is nigh impossible unless
they're
you really
already
attack your
OC1,
army.
so Battle Shock Darnoa, they're still going to be OC1, right? You're going to have Toughness 5, 2 up saves, and 3 wounds on all these Terminators. And Terminators have a 4 up Invul save now, standard.
Yeah. Did we get any information about the other units in them, like Ravenwing?
No, we just got Lionel Johnson.
Well, he's a BAMF in 10th edition for sure.
He has one of my favorite keywords in this edition, which is fights first.
Fights first. Let me talk about fights first. In case you didn't know, fights first intuitively means you go first. But it means you go first even if they charge you, and they have the rule fights first. Yeah. Somehow, you are always the fastest once you have the rule fights first and you get charged. So if you take your Lionel Johnson, and I'm just going to take a stab and assume he can join like the 10 Terminators.
He has no leader keyword.
Scratch that. He ain't joining no Terminators. So he himself is a solo badass. Is he a lone operative?
He is. Not that I can see as of now. But he does have Deep Strike.
Okay, so he's just going to walk around and be a monstrous tank thing. Oath of Moment is amazing. Space Marines in general have such a wide variety of data sheets, and usually at the beginning of editions, they typically are very powerful because they're one of the first armies to get their codex and all that. With all that in mind, based on this preview, I can't see putting them below B tier.
No, I don't think they're A because they're points are really going to determine it. You know, things like that. Like, you know, who knows how many points all these things are and what other things they have. But being Space Marines, they're already going to be... I don't think they're S tier. No. I think Space Marines make them really good because of rerolls just off the bat. I would want to put them between A and B, right. But because we can't do that, I would put them in A just for being a Space Marine.
Let's put them in A. I
think just being a Space Marine right now is going to be a good thing.
Unless you're a bad Space Marine, then we'll put you down lower.
So Dark Angels should go in D tier. Bad Space Marines.
Bad Space
Marines. Heretics, all of them.
B for Blood Angels is next, and Blood Angels are bad. Jack is not on this tier list, so we can comfortably put them into D tier.
Do you hear that, Jack? Do you hear that? Blood Angels.
Blood Angels go right there. Get your screenshots, everybody. Get your screenshots.
That's right. So the next one would actually be Space Wolves, though.
But Blood Angels was...
But that's the next one on the list.
Okay, I'll read... So I have recently begun my saga as a Space Wolf warrior. I'm a part of the warrior born here. I am undefeated in my last 2 games of Space Wolves, and that's a huge sample size.
Wait, that's 9th edition, though.
Well, it'll carry over.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count. It's a new edition. So you do get deeds now, the sagas. So you've got the saga, basically your characters have to do different things, and if they do these things, your army gets better because they're inspired by your characters.
That's pretty
cool. So like, character kills another character, right? Then your entire army gets exploding 6s, right? Character... control one or more objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone with a character. Your entire army gets +1 OC.
Okay, that is hard to do, but it's an amazing effect.
Right, that effect would be crazy. Okay, kill... one of your character units was reduced to below half of their starting wounds, but weren't destroyed that battle round, right? Your entire army gets 6 up, feel no pain.
Also hard to do, also great effect.
Okay, and then your character destroys one of the monster vehicles, then your entire army gets lethal hits.
Not as hard to do, very, very strong. I mean,
that's like a really cool... It's like your character does something epic, your whole army gets better.
I love it. I think that's super thematic.
That's cool.
From a power level perspective, I think it's going to be contingent on, of course, your opponent. If your opponent doesn't bring monsters or vehicles... You're not getting lethal hits, you know?
I'm glad that they showcased the Hounds of Mordkai, though.
Oh, talk to me about those guys.
Meh. They're Reavers. They're fancy Reavers.
Fancy Reavers that hate psychics.
Yeah, they scout 6 inches, right? In the shooting phase, they select one enemy unit within 12 inches. And they must take a battle shock test.
Yeah, that's not super exciting. It's not bad, but there's a lot of units in Space Marines.
They've got like anti-psyker weapons that do devastating wounds. So against psychers, they're really good.
Hey, you could make a Space Wolf army that's designed to just be teched out for enemy
opponents. You could, actually. If you want to kill some psychers, take some Space Wolves. They're apparently really good against psychers.
Seems like it's really good in team format.
Yeah. So being Space Marines, I think that they would be up there. However, I feel like having to bank on your characters doing stuff to get your bonus might come and bite you in the butt. Yeah. So I wouldn't put them in A tier. I'd put them in like B.
I think they're in B tier. I think they're, without knowing more context, I think it's around the same power level as Custodes. They don't seem as strong as Dark Angels just off the rules we've seen.
Correct. Especially when missions are like the way that you just score your missions.
Yeah. But you know what else you score? You score a super chat from Relic Scumpin for $5. Thank you so much for your support. Hope everyone's having a great day. Art of War faction goes above S tier. Thank you so much, Relic Scumpin. Your support's awesome. We love you. And if you have any other questions, any of you in chat who want to ask us, let us know what you think. Send us a super chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Relic, you're awesome. Okay.
Really appreciate it. Shout out to you. It's awesome. Next, Blood Angels.
All right. So
we already decided where they go. We can just move on to the next one. Okay. Black Templar.
No, we can't actually do that.
Oh, come on.
The Blood Angel players will mega rage.
Don't tease me like this.
Look, I know Jack's not here, but I don't want to hear Jack coming in through the door. And
he's going to get so many messages on the Discord, on the Art of War Discord, being like, hey, Jack, they totally did your Blood Angels wrong. They did them dirty.
He's getting messages right now.
Okay, fine. I'm scrolling back up to it. So their detachment special rule is called the Red Thirst. So if you charge in the turn, you get +1 strength, +1 attack on your units. That's it.
That's pretty... The Furious charged in the olden days.
Yeah.
You played back in 5th edition.
I did. 3rd edition. I played back in 3rd edition.
Okay, Scott.
I was Rhino Rush born.
You were Rhino Rush.
The original Blood Angel terror was the Rhino Rush.
That's true. I played that. That was good times.
That was back when Devastators rolled a dice every turn, or every Blood Angel unit. And on a 1, they saw red and moved forward d6 inches. So if you had Devastators in a defensive position, they would like run at you and not be able to shoot their guns.
Seems pretty cool.
That's what I call theme.
Scari's known for mindlessly running at the opponent. It's his favorite tactic.
Blood Angel, so So they did show off the Death Company Intercessors, basically just black ragey stuff. They did show off Gabriel Seth, but essentially it's a combat army. However, I feel like missing out on being able to advance and charge as a rule, being able to fall back and shoot, being able to like get exploding like or lethal hits in Devastator Doctrine. Like I'm not sure if that's really like super worth it. Blood Angel players might like it. They didn't show off Sanguinary Guard, and a lot of Blood Angel armies are based around like how good that unit can be.
Today, yeah.
Right? So we'll see.
A lot of what happens when you take these unique Space Marine chapters like Wolves and Blood Angels and Dark Angels and Templars is that most of their codex comes from the same generic Space Marine codex that everyone's does, but they have these extra units like Death Company and Sanguinary Guard and Wolfen that make the codex, specifically chapter Blood Angels, feel unique, and oftentimes their power relative to the actual power of Space Marines is pretty tied to how good those specifically unique units are.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how I can't really put them in A tier, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll do a lot of damage, but I don't know what their scoring potential is going to be like. I don't know what their units are going to do. Like, yes, they're based around the framework. And let's just say they probably should be between A and B because they're still Space Marines. And Oath of Moment is just really, really good.
Yeah. Do we get any other information about them?
Nope, not really.
Just combat Space Marines with +1 strength, +1 attack?
Yep.
All right. I think that seems pretty Space Wolf-esque, a little less thematic, so I'm going to put them behind Space Wolves. Jack will probably roundhouse kick me through the wall for this, but here we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Behind the Space Wolves specifically. Okay, so the next one would be the Black Templars, my favorite chapter.
Your favorite chapter?
The first army that I played.
Want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
Scary is not only a Drukhari player. He, in fact, is an aficionado of many of the factions, though he does have a Drukhari-centered channel, one of which is Black Templars. Your first faction, as you said. What drew you to the Black Templars?
The fact that they were in the starter box, and that's how I painted them.
The best reason I've ever heard for anything in my entire life.
I didn't know what I was doing when I was 12 years old. I was 12, okay? I painted them like it showed in the box.
Beautiful.
That was it.
They were black.
They were black with white shoulder pads with a little Maltese cross decal that you put on them, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play Chaos, and it's a whole story. My mom bought me a Space Marine Terminator unit instead of Chaos Terminators, and then I had to paint them as Templars because they were Loyalists. And the rest is history.
All ancient history.
Yeah.
But now it's the present-day history. Tell me
That's
about
right, 10th edition. So they have a detachment rule called Righteous Crusaders. So at the start of the first battle round, you get to pick one of 4 different vows that are a rule that will affect your whole army. So you can either give your entire army auto wounding on 6s in close combat.
Okay.
You can give your entire army a 6-up feel no pain and a leadership 5+.
That's really good. Like, I don't know about you, folks, gentlemen, but I've cast a lot of psychic powers on 6+s, and Battle Shock now works just like that. And you know what? I'm very likely to fail Battle Shocks when they're 6s. I just know myself.
Siegler won't, though. He has to roll high, right?
That was the only weakness he had, is that he was bad at morale, and now he's good
Now
at
he can't do it anyway. Then we have Abhor the Witch, so the entire army gets a 4-up invulnerable save against psychic attacks, and all melee weapons that they have are anti-psyker 4+. Mm-hmm. So really good against Psychers. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last one is your entire army gets exploding 6s in close combat with sustained hits.
All right, so lethal hits, sustained hits, or what was that last
one? Lethal
hits,
sustained hits, feel no pain, and an amazing leadership, and like 4-up invul against psychic attacks, and anti-psyker 4+ on all their melee weapons.
Okay, so all of those are great rules. The fact that you can tailor them for the situation is awesome.
After you know who goes first.
And you know what's really cool? They're Black Templars, which means they get Oath of the Moment. And what stacks really, really, really well with Oath of the Moment is either lethal hits or sustained hits, or even devastating wounds. Yep. All of it, it's
so good.
Brutal.
So good. So they did show off the Primaris Sword Brethren, which are specialist close combat unit for them. They went up to 3 wounds now instead of 2 wounds. They basically have like they're basically Blade Guard veterans, but better. They get to pick like what they were. They get like a 2 damage sword now. That's so cool. I'm so excited. Anyway, they have to go in S tier.
I have to go in S tier. Well, to me, and
don't be the voice of reason.
Look.
Don't.
We
don't
get
you
to
crush my
Demons
hopes
and
dreams.
Eldar and those factions. You can be my voice of reason. I think from what I'm hearing, they're still kind of a slower Marine chapter. That's always been part of their MO. They're not Blood Angels or White Scars over here.
Traditionally.
And they're melee oriented. They're pretty good at it, but they're melee oriented.
Yeah.
That's always a tough challenge to cross because you have to run across the table through all the various guns in the world. Sometimes you're better at it than others.
Fine, I'll say before Blood Angels, because at least we get a versatility of picking what we do.
Yeah, and also, Black is alphabetically before Blood, so that just is a reason of its own.
There you go. Hey, Jack.
Hi.
Okay.
So this brings us to
Death
the Death Watch, the Warriors of Death.
So Death Watch are usually like anti-Xenos fighty style army.
Yeah, they tailor their weapons and their rules to specifically their opponent that they're hunting, and they often hunt the Xenos factions.
So they get what are called mission tactics. So at the start of your command phase, you can select a mission tactic. Right, so 1 gives your entire army sustained hits 1, so any weapons that's ranged and combat. Mm-hmm. The second one gives you lethal hits in ranged and combat, and the last one gives you precision.
That's precise.
Yes, if you do a critical hit.
So precision is the rule that will allow you to either attack characters that are lone operatives or hit characters that are within units already.
I don't think it works with lone operative.
Oh, no?
It's only characters in units.
Okay, well, lets you snipe out the characters in the units. If you roll a critical hit, you can allocate the wound to that character. That's pretty cool.
Yep, as long as you can see them. But that means on a 6 to hit, you could allocate that hit onto one of the characters in a unit. It kind of like helps you kill some of these leaders that are tucked in like a bodyguard unit of some sort.
As we saw from my exhibition match, Farseers joined to units, just buff your army insanely. So being able to precision that Farseer out is
would be really useful.
Yeah.
How many wounds on a Farseer?
4 on just a regular foot one. They pretty much all the other characters went down 1 wound from their current rendition.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so Death Watch Veterans got previewed. That's a unit that has a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool.
I'm really curious how they did this because Death Watch, they have a million options in their codex right now. So I'm curious how they work that into the point structure of 10th.
Well, I'll tell you right now that their rule is reroll 1s to hit, right? But if you're playing against something that doesn't have Imperium or Chaos keyword, you just reroll hits with them.
That's great.
So they have like a built-in reroll hit pools.
Against not Imperium, not Chaos, which is about 1/3 of the game.
Yeah, which does mean, okay, like if you have Oath of Moment, you can kind of use that, right, on a unit, for example. But a lot of their rules or their mission tactics deal with hits of 6, lethal hits and sustained hits and precision. So having rerolls is not a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
I'd say that's useful.
I would say their predicament within the meta is really hard to place because their power level is going to increase or decrease based on how many Xenos armies are out there. You know, getting reroll hits or not is an enormous change to your army's functionality. And, like, if you're playing against a lot of Astra Militarum and Chaos Demons, you might miss that rule. Yeah. But if you're playing against a lot of Genestealer Cults and Eldar, maybe it'll be really good. Yeah,
so I guess it depends so much on the meta that it's one of those things you can't really make that determination because it's so specific.
It'd probably be a really great team army.
It would. Like, a lot of these are. You can be like, we need an anti-Psycho army, or I need an anti-this army, right? An anti-Xenos army.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't say that they're like generically the best, but they have some good rules.
Maybe we can well, let's toss Death Watch into B tier right now. I think it's not space.
I think they might even be better than Custodes. So let's put them in front of Custodes. I feel like just having, like, being a Space Marine and having all those really cool rules pushes them ahead of the pack.
Right.
But at the same time, who knows? Maybe nobody plays Xenos.
Right. And, you know, we can adjust it. If we populate S tier with all these Xenos armies, maybe Death Watch knocks up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, right? That does make sense. Okay, so that's the
Space Marines?
Hodgepodge of all the Space Marines.
All right. Now that we're done with the good old-fashioned Space Marines, we can get to the cool armies.
Specialist chapters
of the world. Oh, sure, we have regular Space Marines to go through, I suppose. But let's go through one of the best armies in the game, Fate Weaver's faction, the Chaos Demons.
Okay, Chaos Demons themselves. Now, they did show off, like, their, like, Shadow in the Warp sort of rule.
They have the really cool rule, Shadows of Chaos, which is basically going to divide the table into 3 zones. Your zone, your opponent's deployment zone, and no man's land. And then, if you control the majority of the objectives in that zone, or if you have things like Bellicor, you'll create a Shadow of Chaos in that zone, which will allow you to deep strike closer to the enemy and create a lot of triggers for your rules to interact with.
Yeah, it basically turns that zone of the table table into what we would consider a locus.
A locus,
right? Like a locus just for the table zone instead of like in and of itself, like a bit, next to thing. They also have it also suffers from battle shock tests, and you also take you can heal yourself.
When demons pass battle shock in the Shadow Chaos, they'll heal themselves. When enemies fail battle shock in the Shadow Chaos, they'll take D3 mortals. So Admech makes you choose between taking battle shock or doing mortals. Take a battle shock. If you fail it, take some mortals.
That's crazy. Yeah. Now, their detachment rule is called the Warp Rifts. So when you deep strike a unit within the shadow of the warp, you can come in within 6 inches, which means those charges will be a lot easier to make.
No one likes 9s. Everybody likes 6s. For some reason, I'm much better at 6-inch charges than I am at 6-inch powers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rolling a 6 is easier.
More's on the line,
on what the value is.
That is true. Their Demonic Pact does mean that they can sort of be allied into a Chaos army. So in a Strike Force game, which is what we normally play, you can have up to 500 points of demons in a Chaos army. However, if you're World Eaters, you can only take Khorne demons. If you're Thousand Sons, you can take Tzeentch demons. If you're Death Guard, you can only take Nurgle demons. And funnily enough, it just says if your Warlord is Lucius the Eternal, you can take Slaanesh demons.
Okay, so...
But nobody knows the context of that.
That's just a rule that we know of.
Yeah.
What we do know, though, is also Be'lakor, who's a beast. He himself is not super impressive in close combat or anything, but he's always been more of a support caster in himself, and he's got an amazing rule, which will let you choose one of 3 effects, like a lot of the Primarchs do.
I really like it, yeah. The fact that you can... My favorite is, of course, that you can't, there's any unit within 6 inches of him, it just can't be shot at if you're outside of 12.
Yeah, that's the moneymaker one. The other 2 abilities are good. One centers around battle shock. I don't remember the third. But the being able to just make your army unshootable if your opponent is not within 18 inches of you pretty much means you dodge turn 1 alpha strikes, which is an enormous issue for demons right now, especially the big monster mash builds. And it means against the powerful weaponry we'll find, they'll have to come closer to apply it or, not shoot me. And if they're coming closer to my demon army, I'm pretty sure I'm coming out on top of that exchange.
Yeah. So the 3 ones are, you've got the anti-shooting you one, you've got the you're forcing battle shock test on your opponent's turn, if they're under starting strength, so they don't have to be under 50% strength. And the other one is you get to reroll your battle shock test for your army.
Right.
So, sure. Yes.
I think this rule in and of itself catapults demons all the way up to A tier in front of Dark Angels in my mind. I think this is a game-defining rule. Not being able to be shot is alright, half the game's not a problem.
So didn't you play against a bunch of guns?
Yeah, I played both with and against guns. I had Eldar, they had Astra Militarum. Let me tell you, if I had some magical rule that said my army could not be shot, I would feel great into both of those factions. I don't know.
Wait, are you all the way back in your deployment zone? And
Andrew Gagnon had 2 Basilisks and 2 Wyverns hiding behind this ruin in his deployment zone, and I was just eating that for the entire game. It would be really nice if I didn't have to.
Yeah, this guy says you can't use your toys.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome. Double thumbs up. I don't want to put it into S tier because I don't have enough context. I don't know that it's super powerful, and it doesn't offer much support against melee armies.
Yep.
And demons may be very expensive still.
We have no idea. It depends as well then on the data sheets themselves, and if you can have those trade units, etc.
Right. If Be'lakor is over 500 points, maybe this whole thing isn't worth it.
Yes, that definitely makes sense.
But we do have to talk about Tim G over here. He's been a member for 10 months at the Gold membership. Thank you so much, Tim. That's full Warhammer access. Tim knows all of our trade secrets. Forget the factions. Which Art of War member becomes the first ITC champion of 10th? Oof, what a tough one. Who do you think will be our first ITC champion of 10th?
Myself.
Yeah, I was going to say...
I haven't done it yet, so it's bound to happen at some point.
Hey, this is what happens. You come to the Art of War house, you get your butt kicked a little bit.
By osmosis. I lie down by osmosis. I just soak it all in, and then I just become better.
You just wait. Come LVO 2024, Skari will be a Super Saiyan 3.
That's right. I'll have the golden hair and everything.
It'll be long on the floor.
Oh my gosh. You gotta cosplay.
He'll grow a tail and turn into an ape. Okay.
What's next?
Chaos Knights.
Ooh, Monty Python reference over there. I appreciate you.
Who doesn't?
I appreciate you for that. So Imperial Knights.
No, the other ones.
Boo. I don't want to do Chaos
The Imperial
Knights.
ones are all the way over down there.
Fine, Chaos Knights.
The Year of Chaos.
No, don't do it. So Chaos Knights basically have a special rule where they essentially mess with battle shock. Right? So that's their aura. Their dreaded despair. On the first battle round... From the first battle round onwards, an enemy unit within 12 inches has to take a battle shock test at -1 leadership, basically. So -1 to like, yeah. So that's okay. It's anything within 12 every time.
It's like the new version of Dread, which it's very similar, making armies just not be battle shocked.
Well, it's any battle shock test is at -1. So like they don't force people to take battle shock. It's just you're just at -1 within 12. However, from battle 3 onwards, it's +1 to wound a target that's battle shocked.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. And plus -1 to hit if they're shooting you and they're battle shocked.
So what's really cool here is you could actually ally demons to your Chaos Knights and get double battle shock messery over going on.
Yeah, so there's some cool like combos, and I feel like as we get more information, those combos are going to be something that I feel is going to be important. You're going to have a concept and then like build it within like your list and kind of try and leverage all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Their Forged in Terra aura is any unit that's below starting strength within 12 of a Chaos Knight, right? Must take a battle shock test. So they do force you battle shock test with their detachment rule if you're below starting strength. So even if you're like a vehicle that has multiple wounds, if you've taken one wound, you're below starting strength. So even vehicles and stuff will have to be taking battle shocks as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So stacking up a bunch of battle shocks, as you can see, some armies care a lot more than others about it. Like Dark Angels are going to be pretty immune to Chaos Knights, at least from what we've seen so far. Of course, Chaos Knights are still Knights and War Dogs, like as a faction. So that's gonna, in addition to this battle shock side quest that we're seeing, there is a lot of raw brutality and force and stat checking that they will come to bring to bear upon you. And I'm curious, do we know what the objective control these big knights are?
Yeah, so they did show off the Knight Despoiler, which is OC 10. So it's like your basic knight. And then they did show off the Knight Abominant, which is OC 10 as well.
Okay, so
some pretty like hefty stuff. Right?
Yeah. Being OC 10 is not inconsequential. You're outnumbering most units just by touching an objective.
Which is good. That's about the standard stuff. You know, as they bracket as well, I believe their OC goes down as little as well. Yes, so their OC would go to 5 if they're like, you know, they have like very few wounds left. And a lot of their weapons are very strong. They've got lots of options. All in all, I think it would really depend on, and something that is well to note, these big knights have the towering keyword.
So let's talk about the towering keyword, because I think that's like one of the things here that is a little insane right now.
Yeah, so obscuring used to be that you could see knights or Titanic stuff, and they couldn't see you back
unless they had like some like unless you were also in the obscuring.
Correct, right? Or there was windows or whatever, you know, things like that. Now obscuring is like true line of sight against towering both ways. So if you have windows in your little ruin and you're standing behind the ruin, not even in the ruin anymore, but behind the ruin, that knight can see you if he can see you.
It can also be the case that your ruin doesn't have windows, but you're a little bit behind it, and the knight happens to be like 10 inches tall.
Yep.
So, you know, physics of dimensions over here, the knight is seeing down over your ruin wall and just blowing up little Timmy with his finger in the air.
Yep, and before that wasn't the case. So I think that rule might be very impactful depending on what the terrain is like specifically. You know, because like you play like at the Games Workshop style events, and they've got the big 12 by 12 sections, and that's supposed to be like obscuring. Like the floors they use tend to be like 4 inches tall sometimes, and they're completely blocking. So if you're in there, you're safe. But if you're behind that and there's a knight army coming at you, they can see you.
There's also almost only so much physical space that you can tuck everybody right up against that ruin wall. Like definitely I could deploy some characters or whatever right up against it and be pretty safe. But you know, my army, I don't think so. I feel like something is going to have to get shot unless I'm playing Be'lakor.
That's right. Okay, you know what? Just put Be'lakor up at 2.
Just kidding. I would.
So knights, look, knights have traditionally been very like hit or miss. I think like I don't think they're A tier because their army rule isn't like it's very reliant on your opponent failing those battle shock tests and stuff like that.
Historically, knights find themselves in that B tier area more times than not, and just because some armies can just kill knights. You know, like it's a lot of vehicle toughness things, and some armies have like Haywire, just good anti-tank. And some armies don't, and knights they're always a bit of a gut check like that.
Yeah, so I think, you know, around the B, like I feel we're going to be putting a lot of B stuff around here, and there's going to be some outliers. But to be honest, we have like no context, right?
Yeah.
Like points costs, and
of course.
like other stuff and things. So historically, knights can go well and be very oppressive, or can just get smashed and just tabled because you have like 3 or 4 models on the table or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's toss them into beats here. I'm going to put them right by Custodes and Space Wolves. I have no idea if this is right.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to move them around, that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
I feel like they're not as good as Custodes, based on the rules that we've seen. I think, yeah, they're back there.
Back there, behind the Blood Angels?
No, put them in front of Blood Angels.
That's for you, Jack.
Blood Angels get relegated to the end of the line.
I see a lot of people in the chats of this one talking about how this tier list is all about the previews and all that, or asking if it's about the previews versus the entire indexes. This is just based on the previews, of course, but don't you worry, once we have all those indexes, we'll do another one.
Yep. Why not? This is, we're just giving you a preliminary of what we think based on what we've seen so far and the information we all have access to. And then that's it. That's it.
So before we keep on going, I want to take a second and talk about DCers02's $5 Super Chat. Thank you so much. Does the Astartes banner stack with the Dark Angels Grim Resolve, making their OC go to 2 if they fail a Battle Shock test? That's a great question. Do you have any idea?
Nope.
No, I don't either. I'm sorry.
I think they're potentially. Okay. I'd have to go back. Let me just go back and read it.
Yeah, let's see if we have access to these.
We'll do this for you. We'll read it out for you so we can check it out again.
Thanks so much for your support, Dacier. While he's pulling that answer up, I'll start talking about our good old friends, the robot people, the Necrons. They reanimate. Let me tell you, holy crapola, they come back to life much more annoyingly than before.
The Necrons?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to go through that. So, the Astartes banner is, while this unit contains an ancient, add 1 to the OC characteristic for its models.
So, I don't think so. I think
that's the math thing. It's like, do you add, subtract, and then set, or do you set, then add and subtract, right? Because if it's OC 0, however, if it's 1, did it get +1? Because you already Grim Resolved.
One of the things that I can confirm with you is that they are doing a designer's commentary release with the release of the actual rulebook. I don't know the contents of that, of course, but to my understanding, so much of these little ambiguities within the rules, do you set first or then add one, the conversation here about objective control, or maybe how fly works, or things of that nature which aren't super clear in the rulebook or super well defined, they will be in the designer's commentary. So I would stay tight. I'm sure this is going to be a common type of interaction, which we'll see. It always is between setting a modifier and then adding or subtracting one. What happens first? Right,
because do you add it and then set it to 0 when you're battle shocked, or do you set it to 0 and then add it? Right, so that's the key there. We have another super chat.
Another super chat from Fyodor Dankstovesky. I really hope I didn't butcher that. I think I did all right. Sorry about that, but appreciate your $5 super chat. Did you guys see anywhere where objective control gets rounded? It looks like Ripper Swarms can knock you down to 0.5 OC, but it never... That's never been GW.
There's literally nowhere that says it gets rounded. As it stands right now, yes, it would take you to 0.5 OC.
Yeah.
So every 2 models would be 1.
I would say they don't typically do the 0.5.
They don't. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wait for that designer's commentary. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support on that one.
So, Necrons, their faction rule is called Reanimation Protocols.
Beep boop, bop, beep boop.
Now, as a person who plays some Age of Sigmar, this is very reminiscent of the Death factions, because Death factions have a tendency to bring models back, and this is every unit that has taken damage just regains D3 wounds worth of models.
Yeah.
So if they have a model wounded, they heal that model, and as soon as that model's wounded, they can bring back a model with 1 wound remaining, and then they continue to heal that model. Yeah. So like multi-wound models seem like they're gonna really appreciate this rule a lot better.
Absolutely. Not only does it work on those multi-wound models, but it also happens to your whole army in your command phase.
In the command phase, you just boop, and then anything that's wounded just...
Now, does it say your command phase or in the command phase?
It says in your command phase.
Okay, so not both players' turns, thank you.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But still, being able to just reanimate like that is really annoying. Do they have any other information?
The command protocols is when a character is so this is the detachment rule. So when a character is leading a unit, they just get +1 to hit.
Okay, not bad. That's a lot like maybe will be done today.
Yeah, and then they showed off the Monolith and some Necron Warriors. So the Monolith, toughness 14 with 20 wounds.
That's pretty high.
It's towering.
Yeah.
And the Death Razor sustained hits D3.
Ooh, that's pretty strong. Roll out 6, get through D3 more hits.
And they've got 4 of them.
Oh, very likely to roll 6 at that point. I fired 4 shots, I got 7 hits.
Terrifying.
Your tank is dead.
That's terrifying.
Also, I can always see you. I'm very big.
Now, it does... It's slow, and it moves 7 inches, and it's massive.
Well,
so...
it's not the fastest thing.
Sure. It does have the better redeploy now, where it can, like, pick a unit and bring it back and stuff. So, like, they fixed that. So it's more reminiscent of like its original 3rd edition stuff. It's really cool. And then Necron Warriors, toughness 4, they hit on 4s. They've got like Gauss weapons. They reanimate better if they're near objectives,
which they really want to be. That's kind of like where you want to put your warriors.
They have OC2, so I guess they're designed to swarm objectives.
Yeah, and what's the leadership of Necrons?
The leadership is 7+.
Really?
Yeah. What's average on 2 dice?
Necrons have been a leadership 10 army forever. I thought they would still be like robotically, I'm going to hold my objectives.
Maybe they just, downloaded Windows or something. 95. Windows. And they blue screen.
Boop. Boop. I don't know. Necrons don't seem super, super strong to me right off the bat, but they definitely have a lot of potential. We don't know much without knowing more of their data sheets.
Yeah, they showed off some like weapons for the Void Dragon and like the Doomsday Cannon that also gets like devastating wounds if it's like stays still, and they did like they showed off like a stratagem. Yeah. Like it doesn't seem crazy, you know what I mean? Like from that, like who knows? Like I don't like. I'd say they're on like C tier right now.
Without more information, it's hard to say. They certainly have potential to go up. I mean, imagine looking at the Necron Codex preview of today, and it's the data sheet of the Warriors, the reanimation roll, and the monolith. Yep. You'd be like, what is this? But Necrons are quite strong today, so it all depends on more context. Right now, I'm going to leave them right there.
Like, it's okay, If you kill an entire unit, they don't reanimate, so that's,
But how hard is that?
Who knows? The Warriors have a 4-up save and 1 wound, so...
Maybe not that hard.
Maybe not that hard, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you Oath of Moment that unit.
Well, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah!
You wouldn't do such a thing.
What's next?
Next is the good old-fashioned Chaotic Space Marines.
Ooh.
And you know who leads the Chaotic Space Marines? My good man, the Don Abadabadoo himself. He has all of the rules. He's a leader. He joins the Terminators or Legionnaires. And the cool thing that he does is that he's going to provide a 6-inch aura for your army, and that's going to give them a 4+ invulnerable save, or it's going to give them reroll hits. And both of those are amazing.
A tier?
I think so. That seems like A tier top.
We don't even need to do. It's just all the Abbey show.
I mean, we have Legionnaires, we have Abaddon, and we have an idea of what their special rule is. And let me tell you what their special rule is. Every time a unit activates to shoot or fight, you can take a battle shock test to make your Dark Pact. And you can have rules within your faction interact with that. Like the Chaos Icon is going to give you a reroll to your Dark Pact battle shock test.
Well, it's not a battle shock test. It's just a leadership test.
Oh, fair.
If you fail, you just take D3 mortals.
Yeah, so you're not losing OBSEC and you're not losing stratagem access and all that. No, you're just taking some mortals, which is not ideal on your elite army, but... Let me tell you what you get if you pass this leadership tech. You can choose in either shooting or close combat, every time you use it, to get sustained hits or lethal hits. And you can do this individually for every unit in your army every time it shoots something. So it's not like you're making the choice for the turn. You're going to choose, I'm shooting this tank with bolters. I'd like lethal hits. I'm shooting this 20-man warrior unit. I would like sustained hits.
That sounds incredibly versatile.
You know what else it sounds really good with? Reroll hits from Abaddon.
Oh, is that what he does?
Did you know stacking 6s to do stuff with rerolling hits to get more 6s is a combo?
Wait, I'm pretty sure I can find a code somewhere that says there's less rerolls in this edition.
Hey.
There's no way there's going to be more rerolls as we talk about more of these factions.
Why would these factions have more rerolls? That'd certainly get like Space Marines and Chaos Marines. They have rerolls.
They're the only rerolls.
They're the only rerolls. That makes sense.
They don't even listen to the Death Watch or anything. No.
I'm thinking they're A tier. I really am.
Yeah, you like them?
I'm liking CSM.
Okay. Well, sure. Let's put them up there. They're better than Demons, though.
I don't know if they're better than Demons. You think they're better than Demons?
Yeah, Abaddon wields demons for his purpose.
But Fate Weaver.
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
I feel Abaddon.
It didn't click. I can't do it.
I feel Abaddon would beat up Fate Weaver. He'd be like, "You're Fate Weaver? No, I'm
Fate Weaver.
Not Fate Weaver. Bellicor. Actually, Bellicor would probably beat up Abaddon.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sure.
But you know who might beat up all of these factions?
Who?
The Craft World Aeldari.
Ooh! you got to play them too.
Yeah, this might be one of the ones that we can talk a little bit more in detail on since I've actually played a game with this faction.
Aeldari.
So let's walk through what we know. We know the Aeldari have fate dice, which you're going to roll 12 dice at the beginning of the game, and each die is going to be a value which you can preemptively substitute for any of your moves, advanced charges, hits, wounds, saves, advanced battle shots.
So it's like if your blade this is a battle, and you got all of your miracle dice at the beginning of the game.
But did you know if you take Eldrad, you get 3 more?
Oh my god.
So that's 15. And then for every Farseer you take, you can take one of your fate dice and just say, this one silly. Actually counts as a 6. So instead of having this 2 that I'm stuck with, it's 6 now.
So wait, you get 15 sixes.
Up to 50. Well, you're not always going to be 6s, but you don't always need 6s either. A 4 or 5 should suffice sometimes.
Sure, fair enough.
So, yeah. But let's keep going, because that's not the only thing we know about Eldar. We know that their mono-faction rule is that every time the unit is activated to shoot or attack, it's going to get a free reroll to hit and a free roll.
Wait, did you say reroll?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Checked out.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about Space Marines and Chaos Marines. I forgot. So, yeah, we've got reroll the hit, reroll the wound, and let me talk about the types of units that you're going to put into your army as well. So, things like Warwalkers and Vipers and D-Cannons and anything that can take these hyper-efficient weapons that do D6 plus 2 damage. They, very likely to hit with their low weapon quantity of shots with high quality, very likely to hit with that reroll, very likely to wound with that reroll. And then, you failed your save from this AP 3 or 4 gun. 8 damage from my fate dice. Have fun with that.
That sounds terrifying.
It doesn't stop there, though, because they have a variety of other rules.
Can we just say they're S tier right now?
I'm not done.
No!
Warp spiders.
They did preview those. They moved like
sure
24 inches.
But you can roll a die, and if you roll a 1, you can take a mortal wound for your speed.
On your Exarch?
Yeah, he's got 2 wounds, so don't sweat that. And, it's not like they auto-hit or anything with their torrent weapons that do devastating wounds.
They auto-hit, right?
So, it's not only like you can move 24 inches and flame somebody, but then at the start of your opponent's turn, when they start moving around, you're going to flame them again with that Overwatch stratagem. Oh, did you know one of my favorite things I actually did to Andrew in my game was when he wanted to...
I'm just going to let you keep on going.
I'm just going. I'm going.
You're just going.
This is let me go here. So when he was going to move his Thorox to go fight up for an objective or something, and then I reminded Andrew, the poor soul, that, hey, Andrew, I'm playing Eldar, so my Fire Prism can overwatch you. And he's like, okay, it's 2 shots of hits on 6.
Wait. Fate dice?
I said, fate dice do exist, my friend. I have 1 6 in my pool. My Farseer will flip this 2 to a 6, and it happens in both player turns, so don't think you're safe in your own. And then, okay, I do have to roll to wound. I could use fate dice here, but since it's a 2-up rerollable, I think I'll take my chances. Don't forget Fire Prisms have a built-in reroll a hit and reroll a wound, which will stack with the Eldar rules. Fewer rerolls, everybody. AP 4, flat 6 damage.
Oh my gosh.
I need to stop. Can we just
put this into A tier already?
I'm just going to do it.
S tier?
I'm just going to do it. I'm sorry, everybody.
Gosh.
I'm sorry.
Look at him rambling. We even had a super chat, which you missed with your rambling.
I couldn't help myself. Brandon Green, thanks so much for your $5.50 Canadian super chat. Slaps heavy weapon platform. This bad boy has so much meta. Yeah, so I don't know if, when, how they're going to do something about Eldar. I really do hope they do. Genuinely, I'm an Elfie boy.
Nah, it's fine. It is fine.
You don't have all the points and all the rules. Maybe
I'm that
it's
little
fine.
Dog in the room that's burning right now.
Yeah, it's fine.
Everything's fine.
Look, is 40k ruined? No, not at all. There's going to be some things that slip through the cracks when you're rebalancing an entire edition. Hopefully, they're quick to adjust it.
You know what? At least they saw you play it, and there was top brass there.
I will say it was really nice performing this live show in front of and on the Games Workshop channel.
To be like, hey, look at this. This is fun.
It was fun. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun playing, and I know Andrew did too. It was a 4-hour game. We had a good ass time.
a great guy too.
Yeah, of course. But did it feel like maybe my toys were better than his toys? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like it, especially when,
Especially when talking
Then
about...
again, him bringing back entire units.
The game was actually pretty competitive, right? Like,
Right.
maybe not in the way it should be, where Andrew had 2,600 points to my 2,000, and that's how it got competitive.
Right.
But that might be how Guard are meant to play and interact with the world. They're all kind of a little bit worse than everybody else, but there's more of them. It's hard to say. Guard and Genestealer Cult both have these kinds of mechanics.
Well, I'm done talking about the Craftworld cousins. Let's discuss some wonderful, wonderful Drukhari, because that's the next one on the list. And you know what? That's my faction.
All right, Scar. You know how I just ranted for like 20 minutes? Your turn.
Okay, so you know how we said rerolls be good?
Don't tell me that they have rerolls.
Oh my goodness gracious. So the army rule is we get something called pain tokens. So at the start of the game, because we're playing 2,000 points, I get 3 pain tokens. Okay. Now I can use these pain tokens in either the movement or charge phase to reroll an advance or charge roll. So I can put a token on a unit, empower it, and it gets a reroll advance or a reroll charge. So it makes them more efficient at that. I can also use it in the fight or combat phase to empower a unit and just give them full rerolls to hit.
So reroll or advance and charge, that's whatever.
You know what? If you need to make that charge, sure.
No one likes messing
Guess
up the
what
charges.
I don't have to use for that reroll now?
One of your very, very precious command points. But you know what? Instead of rerolling the charge, what if you reroll all of the hits?
Correct. on every.
Okay. This is shooting and combat, right?
Shooting or combat.
Okay.
And then as a real space rated detachment, because I like playing multiple units, the detachment rule is if I have an Archon, a Succubus, and or a Homunculus, I get +1 of these pain tokens for each one of those I take. So if I have a Succubus, which I normally do, a Homunculus, which I normally do, because I like Homunculus, and an Archon, we don't know what they do yet, all that stuff, but I get +1. So I would start the game with 6 of these.
That's more than 3.
That's more than command points.
That's a lot. That's
right?
A lot. Look, if every time you had a unit say 1 CP reroll hits, you'd probably do it. But what if it didn't even cost you CP?
A CP?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
You know what's really cool about pain tokens? Seems like you can use them on battle shocked units.
Oh, yeah. So, you bypass that whole part of the...
There's no command points or stratagems involved.
Yeah.
They also showed off the Venom, which is fast, okay. Sadly, it went down to a 6-up.
It has a cool rule, though.
Yeah, at the end of the fight phase, if a unit's wholly within 6 and not in engagement range, they can just hop into the Venom.
They sure can.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. And then they showed off Kabalite Warriors, which now have sticky objectives.
Oh, that's a great rule. They've been just tossing that out across.
Yeah, even if it's inside of a transport, they'll sticky an objective.
Oh, so your transports get the sticky objective.
Yeah, if they have Kabalites inside. That's kind of cool.
Dark Eldar are historically a pretty cheap faction, having lots and lots of stuff, multiple small units, all re-rolling it. It's not all, but many.
Reroll hits is really strong, but I think where Dark Eldar get good is because of the fact that the mission format is a one where it forces you to be fast, go places, do things. Dark Eldar traditionally just do that very well. So even if you get tabled historically, you tend to win by just getting points.
Yeah, I actually think Dark Eldar are really strong in this new edition. The ability, having now played the missions myself, their natural play style of stuff everywhere, super fast, tactically flexible, really, really good at this style of mission.
I agree. I think they're not as strong as Eldar, though.
They're not... Is anybody. The raw power of the Drukhari remains to be seen. Reroll hits, obviously, is amazing, but, what are the weapon profiles that we're putting them?
We have no
idea.
Yeah,
we can
estimate the Kabalite Warriors showed us a bunch of the different weapons. You know what I mean, dark lances and blasters and stuff. But we don't know how many points anything costs or stuff like that either.
Just knowing what Drukhari do in terms of they're traditionally cheap and play stylistically, they will crush these missions. Genuinely, they're going to be really good at that. I'm willing to toss them in A tier.
I think top of A tier.
Top of A tier.
I feel they are I have this being a person who's played Dark Eldar for 20 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
They give me that feeling of being really good right now.
All right, so let's real talk. You think this is better than Demons?
Yes, I feel Dark Eldar historically have beaten Demons even in 9th.
What about Fate Weaver?
Doesn't matter. No, don't you dare.
Fine. fine, Mr.
Yeah,
Scary.
you put that in A tier, and there's no bias in that decision whatsoever.
There was no bias.
No,
in that decision.
bias at all. It should really be
no
just
bias in that decision.
Yeah, totally fair and balanced tier review. You know what we should do? We should put Blood Angels one lower.
Just knock it down. Speaking of totally fair and balanced, Death Guard. Everyone knows they're the best.
I've seen a lot of hate for Death Guard.
This was another faction that they preview streamed on the GW thing.
So, okay, you've got more information on them then.
So, what I did see that was very impressive to me about Death Guard is that a unit of 6 Plague Marines overwatched and did like 14 damage to Be'lakor. And I still, to this day, have no idea how that happened, but it literally happened in front of my eyes.
That is crazy.
So, maybe there's more to Death Guard than meets the eye. On the initial outlook, their contagion rule seems pretty lackluster.
-1 toughness, it's about the same as it was in 9th. They didn't really change it at all.
I would say it's even less valuable, believe it or not, than it was in 9th, just because there's a wider spread of toughnesses, clearly. Like the model being 14,
I guess that's true.
Being 9
like
and 10.
T7 is not like vehicle toughness now. It's like the 12 on a knight, right? Like instead of 8.
Like knocking a knight from toughness 8 to toughness 7 meant bolters wounded on 5s. Knocking a knight from toughness 10 or 12 to whatever doesn't change a thing.
Right.
You know?
Doesn't actually change anything at all. And they do have sticky objectives, which is good, right? Like
that is good. That is genuinely good.
Especially in that sort of like to not have to worry about holding your objectives. You can use all your tools more effectively.
One of the biggest challenges I found with Death Guard is because you're super slow, you really have to pick your direction on turn 1 and even in deployment and then just go to that direction. You can't tactically adapt yourself like Craft Worlds or Drukhari can. So if you decide my Plague Marines are going to sit on my home field objective, fine, they'll do that all game until someone comes and kills them. But that's 100-ish points that you are leaving there. And that, when you're playing an army like Death Guard, you really feel that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, they did show off the Blightlord Terminators, so they're toughness 6 Terminators. So
that's good.
That seems pretty good. Mm-hmm. They did show off the Malignant Plaguecaster with some of his psychic powers and stuff like that. And I'm assuming if you go watch the stream, there's more information. They preview more stuff.
Yeah, we showed off Mortarian's data sheet. We showed off Mephetic Blight Haulers, Bloat Drones, Plague Burst Crawlers. We got a lot of different data sheets going off. You can get a good sense of how the Death Guard army plays. I think they're going to end up being a more mixed approach list. Their vehicles actually did seem pretty good. Without knowing the points, of course, take it all with a grain of salt, but their stats on their vehicles was actually truly impressive.
Okay.
And the Mephetic Blight Haulers went from 0 to hero. Talk about a unit that is very lackluster right now. They have this cool rule called Tank Hunters, plus 1-1 against vehicles.
That's really cool.
And
especially with the higher toughness of vehicles. So that would actually, the value of that
with the multi-melters in the mist, that is a good rule, truly.
Okay.
So,
now, sadly though, I don't think they're as good as Blood Angels.
Look, the thing with Death Guard is that they start with D.
So we put them in D?
We put them in D. And ultimately the reason why we're putting them in D, and I'm not
Let's give them room to improve.
The fundamental problem with Death Guard, and this has always been the very somber, sad story of their faction, I'm hoping that they do something that I'm not seeing coming to fix it, is that they move 5 and now even 4.
Yeah, I think especially when you're playing like a tactical mission deck, like even when we played the mission decks in 9th edition, having speed is always better because you can get to objectives and do things and a whole bunch of stuff.
We all love to say that Warhammer is won and lost in the movement, and not just the movement phase. You can advance, you can charge, you can pile in and consolidate and use all these different tricks and tactics and now rapid ingress to move around the table and interact and affect the board state. The problem is when Death Guard move, it's really, really slow, and you can't
adapt to like what your opponent does if they're fast and things.
If like a flank collapses, you can't adjust. Your flank collapses. And the idea is you're tougher. So maybe that'll be the case, and maybe their toughness will actually shine. I've not seen that aspect of their codex just yet, but hopefully that remains to be seen. Or maybe they'll just be really cheap. You never know.
Okay, so for now, we'll put them down there. And if things change, they will change too.
So as tough as Death Guard are, or at least they are supposed to be, Genestealer Cults. Maybe not the tough faction.
No, definitely not a tough faction, but some really interesting rules. They have a rule called Cult Ambush, which is essentially when a unit dies, that's not a character or an aircraft, basically, you can bring it back on a 4+. And if it's battle line, it comes back automatically.
So when we previewed this the other day, I actually did that preview for our channel, and the chat was rage monstering about how broken GSC were because they come back to life. Do you think this is a broken rule, or do you think this is like balanced in some way?
To be honest, it really depends on how fast you are when playing against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it seems like you can put those little tokens anywhere on the board, and if your opponent can get to them fast enough, you can just shut them down. And then they won't have another unit to bring back. Right? So if you're fast enough, you can get to them and shut them down. Mm-hmm. But if you're slow, like, say, Death Guard, like, you're never going to get to those tokens. And you're going to be playing against an unlimited number of models.
What we haven't seen yet also is that they don't happen to have, like, better deep strike capability like they do now. They have a 1 CP stratagem to show up 3 inches away, which is awesome. And that will allow you to kind of replicate the shenanigans that GSC do today. But they don't seem to show up 6 inches away or 8 inches away like the Daemons do or GSC have today. Maybe they will. We don't really know what those rules for deep strike and
we have no idea where they come. Now they do have the thing where, like, in their detachment rule, when they come in as reinforcements, the unit gets sustained hits and ignores cover. So
right.
They like have a better chance of doing damage. And they can still do the Brood Brothers. So they can add in Imperial Guard units up to 500 points worth and 2,000 points.
And that's always good, too. And we did just see a lot about Guard. We also have the Neophyte data sheet, and that gives you a sense of what their weapon profiles will be. One thing I thought was super interesting is their seismic cannons, they hit on 5s.
Yeah, so okay. So it means like...
That's not that powerful.
No, it seems like even Skitarii, a lot of their special weapons did go down to hit worse, you know what I mean? So it seems like if you have got like good weapons, like maybe they just don't hit as much anymore, or especially if you have like a Horde-style army that has like lots of units or whatever.
To me, GSC, and I'm sure they did playtest this, right? I don't think GSC have the lethality that like Aeldari do or Drukhari do, that where everything's just going to die and they come back to life, so go screw yourself. I feel like they are a pretty damage-starved faction. Like, they have sustained hits, but not lethal hits, so it's like wounding stuff is going to be pretty hard. And with all that in mind, it's hard to play 40k and not really kill your opponent super, super effectively. You basically turn yourself into a very mobile mission-based army, which GSC certainly can do. And I think to adapt to the fact that they're, over the time of the game, going to lose all their units scoring these points, that they get more units throughout the game.
Yeah.
How powerful that'll be remains to be seen. I think it's pretty powerful.
Also, most events play on a chess clock. And if you start your army with 160 models and you end your army with 160 models, like, you better be real fast on that clock.
Yeah. Now, we're seeing some stuff in the comments like GSC be playing with 4,000 points versus Death Guard. Totally possible, but that would require the Death Guard army to have killed 2,000 points of GSC throughout the game.
I don't think that would happen either. And don't forget, it's about points.
Yeah.
So if... Like, and we're talking about lethality here. It doesn't seem like Genestealer Cult can really do a lot of killing power, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of their basic stats that we've seen. Yeah. Which means the Death Guard Toughness 6 Terminators would literally bully them off the objectives and just sit there and go, I don't care how many you bring. Like, I'm just going to sit here and score these points.
And those seismic cannons were AP1. Like, that's going to take a long time to really add up into vehicles and Terminators effectively. I'm not convinced the GSC are broken as this initial rule shock might be. I think it's a little bit without context of the entire game to just jump to that conclusion.
And you would know Genestealer Cult.
I do know my GSC.
If there's one faction...
I've also played this game. You know, I know it better than most in that regard. With my relatively undereducated opinion, I would suggest the GSC are in A tier.
In A?
In A.
I'd say they're top B. I don't think...
Top B?
It doesn't really strike me as like... They're still squishy T3.
They're still squishy T3. The thing I really liked about GSC is because they have the deep strike mechanics, they can really score their points really well.
Sure, okay, so you require some... So I guess it really depends. So maybe in between. I would put them in B, but I'd say top B.
I think they're right around where Dark Angels are.
You think so?
And we were kind of putting Dark Angels in that B A tier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's... You want to put them both in B or both in A?
No, let's put them in B. And you know what? Let's AA. Let's put them in A. Yeah. Okay. I think though that Genestealer Cult would be better than
I agree with that.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's exactly where I want them right there. Yeah. Okay, so then we've got the Grey Knigets, different to the other Knigets.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. We've been talking about how movement and ability and like maneuverability is like key. Grey Knights have like this on steroids. Just reading this teleport assault.
Talk to me about teleports. I actually haven't read this one.
Really?
No, I've not. The Grey Knight preview is one of the ones I somehow missed.
If your army faction is Grey Knights, at the end of your opponent's turn, You can select a number of Grey Knight units from your army that are not within engagement range, and the amount of units you can declare depend on the size of the game. So Strike Force, it's 3 units for 2,000 points. Once you've made your selections, you take them away from the battlefield, and they come back in your next reinforcement step. And you take them out at the end of your opponent's turn, even on turn 1.
So you basically just deep strike in turn 1 with these guys? That's
3 units every battle round, every turn.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Talk about showing up all over the table. Holy guacamole.
Right? That's, especially if you're playing like tactical missions. That sounds crazy.
So you're going to need an abundance of screens to play 40k in 10th edition. It seems with Genestealer Cult and Daemons and Drukhari and Grey Knights being factions that can just show up and do stuff.
Talk about speed. Each time a Grey Knight unit that has the deep strike ability advances, they just advance 6 inches instead of rolling.
I think it's a really cool army. I think Grey Knights have always been like this elite teleporty thing. I think if they're going to give them a rule like that, they need to just skyrocket in points. Grey Knight Strike Marine should not cost the same as an Intercessor, given they have a force weapon and a better gun and psychics and teleport. So we'll see what they actually...
They did show off Purgation Squads, which are like the tactical Devastator style for Grey Knights. They will have a 2-up save.
Yeah, they bet. I mean, I like it from a conceptual standpoint. You're pushing Grey Knights more to like the Custodes level of elite and play stylistically. I hope the number of Grey Knights you see on the board actually reduces to account for that.
Yep, and then of course the Purgation Squads have basically the ability to shoot indirectly because they have Astral Aim, which is like their psychic power.
Without knowing points, it's hard to say if these are pointed anything.
I would
close to
honestly
what they are
put
today.
this A/S
this
because of the maneuverability of being able to play the missions. That sounds incredibly strong.
Yeah, I don't know if they're S tier. Like when it's hard to say.
It's hard to look as an elf player though. I would hate having a bunch of like Dread Knights teleporting every turn.
Yeah, no, it could.
That would suck.
If there's a type of army that can legitimately fight Eldar, I think Grey Knights are amongst that pile, just because of their mobility, keeping up in their lethality, and the indirect fire. I'll give it to you, Mr. Scary. I think these are really
I don't think they're as strong as elves, but like maneuverability is like really strong. You know what I mean? Like that's just wins games. It means you can't hide, they get angles. Like, it's just good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was debating whether or not they were here just because of the difference between where Eldar is and where they are.
Yeah, but we can't.
We don't know what that difference is.
We can't, we don't know.
We don't know anything.
Everything else.
Right.
Like their mechanic. Their mechanic is S tier. Okay.
Yeah, their mechanic is S tier. I'll give, and then you back it up with more rules like indirect fire, 2-up save purgations, and that's the makings of S tier right there.
That's right.
Okay.
Although they have room to disappoint us, so they could go down.
Death Guard have room to not disappoint us.
There you go. We got the two layers right there.
Yeah. And then, so we've done tier lists like this a lot in the past, and what we find is typically there's like 1 to 2 to 3 codexes in S tier that really define the game, and 1 to 2 codexes in like D tier, which really are sad, and then the bulk of the game lands in A to B.
Yeah. So and then a lot of player skill is involved, whether or not you can take a B tier list and do like S tier damage with it. You know what I mean?
You with your Drukhari or something.
Correct.
Recto mundo. Astra Militarum. That's who's next. This was another faction I had the pleasure of playing against. This is one I know fairly well, or for playing against it at least. Mm-hmm. The big thing that these dudes do is they come back to life. They have a 2 command point stratagem, and Lord Solar Leontis is just going to give you command points every command phase, in addition to the one you'll normally generate, to revive any regimental unit. And when you're thinking of your regimental units, you're thinking like your infantry squads. You can take up to 20 dudes in your infantry squads now and then join a command squad to it. So you get these blobs of like 25, 30 guys with characters attached. And you can bring back all of that. The characters will not come back with that stratagem. Or you can bring back your Armored and Scout Sentinels. They have the regiment keyword. So Andrew was bringing back these 3-man units of Sentinels with las cannons and plasma cannons. And it was like, man, after a certain point, I've killed my 15th Sentinel. Like my anti-tank is kind of done, and there's more Sentinels.
Yeah, just send in the next wave of chicken walkers. You know what I mean? Like just.
And I will say that none of it seemed that powerful in terms of its raw stat line, which is why I think you can afford to give the Astra Militarum these extra points to play with, just because they hit on 4s and don't reroll. With the orders, they get pretty powerful. You can get +1 ballistic skill.
Yeah, that's the voice of command. So they get they get the 6 different orders. They can do a whole bunch of stuff. Sure, it seems okay.
This is where I'm coming from with GSC as well, where it's like, sure, they come back to life. GSC do it automatically. Guard do it for 2 CP, which obviously is a difference. But the two armies function differently. Guard do shoot a lot harder. and have a lot more data sheets to choose from. So I don't know where they stack up in retrospect to each other, but in general, the coming back to life as a mechanic, I think, is something that is relatively common in 10th edition, and I don't think it's oppressive. So with that in mind, I'm thinking like B tier with these guys.
Yeah, so it seems good. Of course, the guns and how much you can put on the table definitely impacts it. And from what we saw from that stream, they have good access to like indirect fire weapons.
Yeah, they do.
They
really do.
So that alone, I think, would put them up there. So I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. I wasn't super impressed by their weapon profiles, which I think will keep the indirect from tabling everybody instantaneously.
Yep.
But they definitely seem like a strong faction. I think they're comfortable like in this little trifecta of it.
Makes sense.
Top of B.
Makes
you can put
good.
them in front of Deathwatch. It's really over there.
I do like it. And for everybody in chat, we have decided we're going to put Blood Angels next to the Death Guard.
Get your screenshots, everybody. All right.
Okay, what's the next one?
Imperial Knights.
Okay. Fair enough. So Imperial Knights, same sort of like stat lines from what we've seen as the regular Knights, like the Chaos Knights, it seems. They did show off the Warglaives, or like the Armigers, basically, which are toughness 10, 3-up save, and 12 wounds, with an OC of 8. So they're like just less than a big knight at OC, which is really good.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, that's incredible.
That's pretty good. So I'm assuming that we can extrapolate that to the regular war dogs as well.
I would assume as much.
Yeah.
Like, they seem to be mirror images of themselves, usually. Mm-hmm. So the army rule is the Code Chivalric, which basically gives you... You can pick one, which is reroll ones to hit and ones to wound for your whole army. Whole game. And if you kill the enemy warlord, you get something... You become honored. And then you get a 5-up feel no pain instead of a 6-up feel no pain.
Yeah.
The other one is +1 to move, advance, and charge moves. And then you get your 5-up feel no pain if you control more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone. One or more objective markers, like if you control their objective marker, basically.
Giving Knights a 5-up feel no pain seems pretty
hard to get. They get a 6-up feel no pain standard.
Standard is good.
And they only get the 5-up if they do that thing, basically.
But if one Knight does it, is like Space Wolves where your whole army will get it, bless you.
Excuse me.
You're fine. Is it like the Space Wolf thing, like it's a saga where one Knight holds the objective in the opponent's deployment zone, the army gets it?
Yes, so as soon as you're honored, everybody gets it.
I mean, in the right scenario, right? Because there's so many different deployment cards that we've seen now.
You also get 3 CP when you become honored. Like you
okay, so it's a kind of a win harder situation.
Yeah, it's like kill the warlord. Sure, you mean like you get most people I think will pick the reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound. But then to be honored, you have to kill the enemy warlord, which might not be as easy as it sounds.
It's going to be opponent dependent, right? Like
Correct.
Some people will have easier to kill warlords than others.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't love the idea of win harder as a concept in this game. By that I mean, it's if you're standing on your opponent's objective, that's already good for you. You know, they're not standing on it, you're controlling it. That's beneficial.
If you kill their warlord, that's probably good for you too.
Thing. And now you're getting so much extra added value, 5 feel no pain and 3 CP for doing it. It's like, okay, I was losing, now I'm not coming back.
However, I will say that towering is a thing.
Towering is a thing. Holy guacamole.
Right?
I didn't even think of that. So this knight can just see you and shoot you from over the ruins, and there's no real hiding from unless you can, like, find yourself a really tall wall. Yeah. That is...
Right?
Knights, I mean, it's so hard to say, because they're always such a stat check.
There's such a coin flip.
There's such a win harder. There's such a coin flip in the matchup scenario, and we still don't even know their points. So it's like, is it different in scale? Like, I could take 3 big knights, but that's my list? Is it different?
We don't know the points.
We don't know the points.
So we have no idea.
Like,
let's put them down by the Death Guard.
I don't know if they're there.
Okay.
Right now you can get like 1 big knight and like 10 little knights, or like 2 big knights and 6 to 7 little knights, and that's like the ratio.
I think Chad agrees with me.
Well, Chat has got us $50 super chat from Saki Basson. Hopefully I didn't butcher that one. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Grey Knights with how many armies previewed so far having anti-psychic rules and psychic rules? Psychic so far looks to be a negative. It's both a negative and a positive, right? So there's a lot of anti-psychic tech that you can include into your armies based on your factions to potentially mitigate the impact of Grey Knights. And if Grey Knights and Eldar are some of the top factions in the game, maybe you'll see that anti-psychic tech taken a lot more. But at the same time, you have to go out of your way. It's not like anti-psychic tech is typically just tossed on everybody, maybe if you're Black Templars, but generally speaking...
Yeah, in that case, you could pick it if you need to, right? But
yeah. Generally speaking, you're just going to essentially Cast your have your psychic power people, anti-psychic power people on like this obscure character you may not want to take. So if people forego that to have a more well-rounded list that includes other stuff that they want to take, you're just gonna get your psychic powers through.
It's like we saw the Hounds of Mordecai, but that's like one specific unit for Space Wolves. You know what I mean? That has a very specific role, and not everyone has psychers. So if you do take it, you're investing points in something that might be completely useless most of the time anyway. You know, we've seen the Psychophage, which is the Tyranid monster that was previewed that has like anti-psyker close combat attacks.
Is that the one in the starter set?
Yeah, the one with the little gribbly tentacle face.
He kind of reminds me of the Mutilith Vortex Beast.
Yeah, but it's like the Tyranid version, right? Tyranid version. However, that's like in combat, and the way that we see, like, think about it. Grey Knights can be like, I'm going to go to this side of the table. And you're like, cool, I'm going to send my big unit of Blightlord Terminators to come and fight you, or whatever. And you'd be like, psych! And then you just leave, and then come on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
That's so powerful. So, appreciate your super chat. It's going to be wild to see how much anti-psychic tech becomes a necessary thing to include in your list as the meta develops a little bit. And then we got another super chat from Tiger Fans 317 for $10. Thank you, Tiger Fans. Have you guys seen all the rules for each army in 10th, or are we just basing this off of what we've seen? This is purely based on what we've seen so far, the Games Workshop community articles, plus I had the pleasure of playing 10th edition a little bit and commentating it a little bit over the weekend in Kansas City Open.
Yeah, so you have a little bit extra info, but it's mainly on the faction focuses. So in terms of Imperial Knights, I agree with you. I think it's just like that B tier-ish.
I think they're holding hands with their knight friends.
Yeah, like, we don't know. Like, that's the thing about knights. It's such a skew style of army that you can't really tell until you have like more context. So, but they tend to have the potential to be powerful and tend to have the potential to be never seen.
Yeah, there have been times in 40K's history where the same Knight Codex has been S tier and C tier within months.
Correct. So it fluctuates.
Very volatile army there.
Yeah, okay, so what's next?
Leagues of Botanicals.
Ooh, okay, so I think Leagues of Votann has the record in being the one and only army that has ever gotten so nerfed before it even hit the shelves.
Maybe Aeldari is going to compete with them for that one. So
you would know. Actually, the judgment tokens, basically, you just get +1 hit, +1 a wound based on judgment tokens. Mm-hmm. It's very much like Crossfire and Exposed, the Genestealer Cult had.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. It's just it.
That's not as potent as it is today at all.
No. Auto wounds is definitely
auto wounds on 4s versus what was it again?
Just +1 hit, +1 a wound. And you pick one enemy unit at the start of the game, and that unit starts with 2 judgment tokens, so you can like pick one unit that's already +1 a hit, +1 a wound against, and if you kill it, you get command points based on when you kill it.
Yeah, that seems all right.
Yeah.
Nothing too exciting from that preview. It's a good rule. It's not a broken rule. It's a rule.
I'm sad about the Hearthkin Warriors. Like, looking at all these Hearthkin Warriors, they went to ballistic skill 4 across the board, and their heavy weapons hit on 5s.
That's not great.
That's bad.
I mean, it could be the case that like a faction-specific rule might just be +1 ballistic skill or something.
No, it's +1 to hit.
Well, that's kind of the same thing.
No, it isn't.
Look, instead of being ballistic skill 3, you're ballistic skill 4 and +1 to hit. It's not the same.
It's not the same. That's like
there's negative mods and stuff in the game.
Makes me really sad.
Okay, but at least Leagues of Votann are fast and nimble and cheap, right?
Well, we don't know.
We kind of know they're not fast.
They're not fast.
They're not fast.
The Hecaton Land Fortress, though, is toughness 12, so the same toughness as a tank. It's 16 wounds with a 2-up save. It counts as 5 models on an objective, but it as well is ballistic skill 4 across the board.
Okay, maybe Leagues of Votann are changing their army identity from today a little bit, because right now they've only been in Codex for about 9 months, and they've been pretty wildly a shooting army that is like durable, and that's what they're doing. They're durable shooting, so like good luck hiding against them.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem that they're going to be as potent in the firepower phase, but they have other units like the Berserkers and other close combat units, which maybe we'll see a bit of an identity shift here.
Yeah, well, if they still have psychic powers, I'll be very sad. Because they're dwarves.
Well, they do have the one dude.
Yeah, but because of the way they've changed it, hopefully they change just abilities and
that's
not
true.
like
that's
psychic
not a real
powers.
psychic. Yeah. I'm unimpressed. I'll say that.
I'm not. I think they're like down there with Necrons, to be honest. Like I don't really. see them. They don't stand out to me. They just feel like do
you think this is
beating
biased,
you with
though?
a wiffle bat?
Like
It's
some,
like boop,
some
boop,
subconscious
boop,
bias that
boop.
we're putting all of Sieg's armies into C tier?
I'm okay with this.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, let's just bring Blood Angels down.
Yeah, that's right. Put them in C tier.
I went straight to D.
At this point, they should just be they should be there. Just leave them there for now. Just leave them there. You know, if people, you can rage all you want. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right.
They're not here.
They're not
What
here.
are they going to do about it? Absolutely not.
I'm still waiting for Jack to just Kool-Aid Man through the window. So the reason Jack's not on his tier list, he's actually supposed to be here in my stud, is that his flight got delayed. He's stuck in North Carolina, so he's not going to be joining us.
He's not here to defend his faction.
He's skipped the tier list. He's
hitting the thing.
See, it's not so easy not to hit it.
Sorry about that, everybody.
We got a $5 super chat from Squirtle Ninja. Thank you. No way in heck Imperial Knights are low B tier. Every data sheet shown is nuts. Canis Rex rerolls to hit and wound, +6 of invul, 5 of feeling pain, ignoring obscuring. Look, you could absolutely be right, but what if Canis Rex costs 750 points?
We don't know.
We have no idea.
Have no idea. Plus, right now, because there's such a disparity between like infantry and anti-tank, right? We don't know what the meta is going to look like. If tanks become a thing and everybody just loads up on all of their anti-tank weapons, the power of knights goes way down because everybody can table you.
And this is what we were talking about before, where like the same knight rule set can be both very powerful and very weak with respect to the meta in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, exactly. However, let's talk about some bugs.
Everybody
okay?
loves bugs. There's like heroes of the 10th edition starter set. Leviathan, they're eating all the Space Marines. Everybody loves that.
It's the day of Ascension soon, says the Genestealer Cult player.
Look, that's
you
a
know they
different
eat
faction of
you
bugs.
too and make you biomass as well, right?
I don't need my pants.
So, Synapse rules. Basically, you get to take a Battleshock test with 3d6 instead of 2d6. But from the datasheets we saw from the Leviathan box set that they released yesterday, their leadership is like 8. So, like, it's still average on 3 days.
Because you do get average of 3d6, pick the 2 highest, is 8.5-ish.
Yeah, no, it's just to add 3d6.
Oh, just add them? Okay.
Yeah, so it's average
should be
of 10
pretty
and a
fine
half,
with it.
10 and a half, 11.
You'd have to roll bad on 3 dice to fit
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Right, and then Shadow on the Warp is once per battle in either player's command phase, you can make the entire enemy army take a Battleshock test.
Yeah.
And if you have the Neuro Tyrant, you make everybody take it at -1.
That does seem good. That does seem pretty good. So -1 army-wide battle shock once per game. Do you think that's going to be like pop at turn 1 and just get it over with?
I
Do you
think
you
it's
wait
more
for
of
a
those
critical
things where you
moment?
go like, oh, it's the bottom of turn 5, you have bottom of turn, and you're going to try get a 12 on me or something.
I didn't even think of
and
that.
you go, battle shock test for your whole army at
Yeah.
-1. Guess what? You didn't get the scoring you thought you were going to get.
I'm just worried about the fact that what if you pass the battle shock? This
Sure,
is kind
and
of
you've got the
pointless.
CP thing that you can like auto-pass for 1 unit or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think if there's ways to modify the leadership, like the Neuro Tyrant, maybe they have other ways in the Codex.
I'm sure that'll be a
It seems like a
feature of the faction.
mechanic. Like from the things that we saw, they can also slow you down, have screens because they have. They showed the data sheets for Termagants and the Barb Gaunts and like all this other stuff. So there's ways that it seems like they interact with the table a lot more and like movement, like slowing people down and stuff, which I think is very powerful.
Pretty soon we're going to be able to actually show you the data sheets from the Leviathan box set.
They showed them yesterday.
Like I said, pretty soon.
Yeah. We went over. Siegler and I went over them yesterday.
That's what happens when you're flying. So, were you impressed with the Tyranid data sheets that we saw? How were they?
So you've got the Swarm Lord, you got this Genestealers. It seems like it's very much dependent on like what the point costs are going to be. To be honest, I think that it has the potential of being very strong because of all those mechanics and for scoring and speed and things like that. At the same time, if a Termagant squad isn't costed like a Termagant squad should be costed, then you have some issues, right?
But let's assume that the Termagants cost what the Termagants
I think they'll
should
play
cost.
the mission well. I think they'll play the mission well and have good weapon stats, and they might have like good, like the Screamer Killer's dangerous.
Yeah, as it
He's
should be.
very dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. So you could take 3 of him or it. Right. Right. So
I'm thinking
it's like B tier.
I'm
maybe.
thinking B tier.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything crazy, but maybe like mid to mid B tier. I don't think it's
like in the pile of Space Marines. I feel like it's worse than Space Marines just based on Oath of the Moment.
Yes,
army rules.
yes, I would agree with that, but probably better than Knights because traditionally they would be more versatile than Knights.
So are we considering something?
No, that stays at the back.
Stays at the back. Okay, I agree. So maybe like right there.
There you go.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay,
I think so. I think Tyranids beat I think Tyranids beat Blood Angels any day.
For pretty much half of 9th edition, Tyranids lived there.
They did.
So I'm pretty happy with this change, to be honest.
Yeah, you know what? It was rather frustrating.
it was an experience playing non-Tyrannid factions.
Oh my gosh, it was. It was so silly. But most of you don't even know.
You'll find out, though. So
don't put it in the universe. Please
time to talk about what is objectively the most fun of the factions if you're an Orc player.
Orcs. Yeah, of course. It depends on if you were one of those Orc players that yelled war at the top of your lungs.
So I did just see my new favorite way of calling the WOG, and it was in stark contrast to the normal traditional way. Okay. So normally you hear those Orc players who scream WOG, and we're talking about like Mark Perry who screams WOG from the other side of the tournament hall, and you can no longer hear your opponent.
And then every other Orc player.
Oh, it's a chain WOG.
It's a chain reaction. Oh my gosh.
Eric Forsman, one of the guys on Team Tundra Tactics that Art of War played against round 1, we had this game on stream, and Eric's an Orc player, right? And he had this little WOG business card, and it's just a white business card with the words in very small font, WOG, spelled technically correct, and he just hands this to his opponent as his way of calling WOG.
That's so classy.
It was a classy Orc
classy
player. WOG. Yeah, that was good.
There you go.
That's
good. Cool. Nice. Well, if you believe it to be true,
you know what I believe? I believe Federal Marshals $5 super chat is here. Thank you so much for your support, Federal Marshals. We have a tip that fugitive Quentin Johnson was spotted in KC. He is wanted for unlicensed dispensation of facts. He goes by the alias Jaguar Tickles. Okay, I don't know where Q Money is either. He has a lot of aliases apparently. In addition to Jaguar Tickles, he's also Q Money, and he's stuck in Charlotte, North Carolina as well because planes be like that. So one of these days we'll get him.
Yeah, that is giving it to you, plain and simple.
If you are in the Charlotte, North Carolina area or in that airport, please make a citizen's arrest of Q Money and ship him back to the Art of the Warhouse for reprimanding.
Yep, please do. Like that, we can process and detain.
We're gonna feed him to the squigs.
Ooh.
Tell us about the squigs.
The squigs. So faction rule, the war. You once per battle, you call your war. All your Orc units can declare a charge after they advance, not just core and characters. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Add +1 to all strength units, melee attacks, and everybody gets a 5-up impulse save.
So this WOG is very similar to today's WOG. Yeah.
But it only lasts for 1 battle round.
Which is a nerf. A 50% nerf, give or take.
Yep. Yeah. Until the start of the next battle. So if you go second, it's done like right away.
Because you have to call it early?
No, because it's once per battle at the start of the battle round. So you have to start it at the start of the battle round, even if you're not taking the first turn. And it only lasts that battle round. So if you have the bottom of turn, it's less sort of like impactful.
That is a significant nerf. Not being able to call on your command phase. It's nice like going second, right? So like if you actually call the WOG for defense, you want that 5 pinball because you're going second versus Tau. You get the opportunity to call the WOG before the Tau blow up all your tanks.
That is true.
That's nice. Yep. But there's a lot of agency to being like, I'm going to WOG right now. I'll see you by battle round 4 when I'm done WOGing, if you have models left. Yeah. It's just not going to do that anymore.
And now they do have a rule where everybody gets sustained hits in melee.
Okay, so that's basically what Goths do currently. Yeah. So nice.
Everybody gets that now, basically. Yeah. They did show off the Beast Snagga boys. You know, toughness 5, 1 wound. The Sergeant, the Knob has 2 wounds still. They're OC 2. They do have. Do they have an invulnerable save? They do have a Feel No Pain 6+.
Feel No Pain 6+. That's not bad.
Yeah, not terrible. You know, they do hit on 3s in combat and they shoot on 5s, which is pretty standard Orc stuff.
We also saw the Rucker Truck Squig Buggy, which is borderline where indirect fire becomes too strong. It definitely was in 9th, but it wasn't. It doesn't seem to be in 10th, but it's definitely on that cusp.
Yeah, so it's blast, ignore cover, indirect fire, 36 inches, 6+D6 shots. A lot of shots. Hits on 5s though. Strength 5 -1, 2 damage.
Yeah, like the hitting on 5s.
But ignore cover ignores and AP1 is quite good.
Yeah, ignores cover, AP1's great. 2 damage is amazing. High rate of fire, very orky. Hitting on 5s. That's not amazing.
At least it's not heavy.
And the fact that it's going to be firing indirect will give it a -1 to hit, which will keep it intact. But if it can if there's some mechanism to get it +1 to hit, or if you take enough of these and they just start seeing you, it can add up really, really quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. To be honest, Orks are one of those that I think have the opportunity to be very, very good. Like even now, late 9th edition, they have great scoring potential. They have good pressure. Mm-hmm. Like they're
still a great army.
They're cheap, you know what I mean? So I'm seeing them perform decently.
Yeah.
Right? However, I don't think they go against Space Marines, and Space Marines are just going to be like, that thing dies. Then that thing dies.
But what if they have 100 things?
I guess volume of fire depends. And
Orcs can be a pretty numerous
They can.
army.
They
like,
can
not just
overwhelm stuff.
Yeah,
right?
but like right now, Orcs are like, here's 3 kill rigs, here's all the stuff inside, here's 3 squid cog boygans, here's a couple characters.
So it depends on points then.
It all depends on, I mean, how could it not? But
right.
Based on the rules, I think they're pretty similar to where they are in today's day and age. I'd put them in B tier somewhere.
Yeah, so B tier, probably more versatile than a knight army.
Maybe holding hands with the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, I would agree. Like that, we can maybe push the Blood Angels down so that they can see it.
B tier is getting a little complicated.
Yeah, it is. Let's put it down towards the front.
And Blood Angels and Necrons are friends. So
yeah, they are. Absolutely. They fist bump, bro.
They fist bump. All right.
Okay, what's next?
Next up is the Adeptus Sororitas.
Nice. We only have 4 more to go through.
Only 4 more. We are making headway.
Look at this. 4 more. There's so many factions in this game.
There's so many rules to 40. Oh yeah. If you thought this was gonna be a quick tier list.
2 hours later.
Yeah. Welcome to the world.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for everybody hanging out. By the way, this has been really fun.
Yeah. This is actually one of our most viewed live streams that we've done so far. So thank you all so much for joining us. We're having a great time doing it for us.
This is really, really fun. I've really enjoyed this. Okay. So we're doing Sisters of Battle. Well, I will say Sisters of Battle are like Eldar, in a lot of ways.
Why do you say that?
Because they
got miracle dice?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of like fate dice. I'm sad that the Sisters Army is copying all of our Eldar players here.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around.
It might be.
I think Sisters of Battle did it first.
Who's to say?
They do have a rule called Acts of Faith. Basically, so you get your miracle dice, and every time a unit dies, you also get a miracle dice. So they get everybody gets martyrdom, which is really cool. And then doing your Act of Faith, you substitute the dice for a bunch of stuff, which is a very strong mechanic.
Yeah. So getting more miracle dice as the game progresses is kind of how Sisters operate right now. I'm not trying to directly compare and contrast them to Eldar, even though they have very similar army mechanics, just because, that is what it is. The Sisters, I think, are traditionally a very strong faction. They just have a lot of good utility across all their armies. They're not expensive. They have a lot of strong weapons and good defense and good offense.
Yeah, the detachment rule is cool. Is as they take damage, they get better. So they have the Votann thing of +1 to hit, +1 to wound, but they get +1 to hit if their unit is below starting strength, and +1 to wound if their unit is under half strength.
So I would take a gander that's a useful rule, not an amazing rule.
No, because it forces you to take advantage of it if you're losing stuff, which is always bittersweet in a way.
It's like an army designed to make a comeback.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if I was playing against you and you're playing Sisters, I'm trying to make sure you have nothing left.
Well, that's where the Sisters have to use the tactics, right? Like you could take 10 Retributors as a tactic we use today and put the 4 multi-meltas outside the ruin wall and the other 6 on your side of the ruin wall. So if your opponent shoots, you can just pull your multi-melted Retributors. They're never going to finish the unit, which is kind of rewarding over here. And then you can use your Hospitaller, Miracle Dice, or whatever the Sisters mechanics are to revive those multi-meltas and start blasting once more.
So then you have the Triumph of St. Catherine, which allows you to turn Miracle Dice into a 6. If we're talking about Farseers, yeah, that's pretty cool. That mechanic is neat. And the Battle Sisters are just generic, hit on Ballistic Skill 3, though, on their bolters and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Sisters have always been hitting well.
Yeah, and we don't know how big their squads are going to be, but they do have their 6-up inball still.
Their playstyle has also changed a lot throughout the edition. Sometimes it's a more mechanized heavy build. Sometimes it's more infantry-based build. Sometimes it's about countercharging and playing the mission. It's hard to say without more context, but I think Sisters seem like a very generically solid faction.
I agree. Honestly, they tend to have lots of units that can do lots of stuff. They tend to have units that move quickly and do a lot of damage. And that's like Seraphim, Zephyrim, all that stuff. So they play that trade game very well. And I feel with the new missions, they're going to do great at the missions as well.
Right. I think Sisters are kind of like...
I'd put them in A tier.
I think they're like Dark Angel-esque,
Yeah, I'd put them in there for now. Their mechanics seem really good. They traditionally have good weapons for anti-tank and anti-infantry and lots of units to do the mission with. So I feel like they will fight toe-to-toe with the best.
John is an eager beaver to learn what these sisters do, and I'm sure he's going to put them on the table and do some miraculous stuff with them.
With John at the helm, you could put it in S tier.
With John at the helm, you could put Death Guard in S tier.
I love it.
So
the Wonder Kid.
The Boy King, actually.
The Boy King, nice.
Turdstain Jimmy's got a $5 super chat. Bring back Scary more often. I think we will. I quite like this man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a little challenging because the frozen north is quite a few miles away from Florida.
Actually, right now it's burning.
It's a burning north.
Yes, there's lots of fires right now.
I'm sorry
that
to
are
hear
hazing out the sun.
I was going to ask you what the weather change was like, but apparently it's cooler down here. So, no, we would love to get Scary on a lot more. Hopefully we can get some more long-distance collaboration, or if we can even get him in the stream house more often. It's been a pleasure having you.
It's been really good. Having a lot of fun. I leave on Thursday, and it's
too
going to be too soon.
It's too soon. But we'll get you back soon.
That'd be great.
And don't forget, everybody, if you like Scary, or the channel, or this video, leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment letting us know how handsome this beautiful man is. Beautiful. You know what's a little bit less handsome, though? Maybe not something I'm attracted to in the slightest.
Okay.
The Tau Empire.
Boo, D tier. Don't even.
Well, yeah, now that we're talking about it.
Siegler's not here. He can't hear us.
Yeah, he really can't.
D-tier.
Look, if you wanted to put Tau on A tier, be on the tier list.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
that's it. That's right. Tau, terrible.
Where do the terrible Tau actually
so they have the further greater good, which is basically like a mechanic that allows them to essentially get +1 ballistic skill. Right?
Yeah.
Is it +1? Yeah, I think it's it's +1 to hit. I think it's +1 ballistic skill, straight up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's ballistic skill +1. So you have to have like buddy system, where you have like one unit that like looks and points at a unit, and the other unit gets +1 ballistic skill to shoot at that unit. Mm-hmm. And then if they have if the unit that points has like a marker light, they get like ignore cover. And then their special rule is on turn 3, 4, and 5, the entire army just gets sustained hits 1. And if it's guided, like if it's a unit that's shooting a unit that was pointed at, they get sustained hits 2.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So Tau have the new marker light system, which is like guiding your units, and basically, if one of your units sees an enemy unit, it's gonna be the spotter unit for the actual unit you want to shoot.
Correct.
So it's gonna shoot, and it's gonna be normal, but then it's gonna spot the opponent's unit, and then the next thing, like the big crisis unit, is gonna be like, my stealth suit friends or my piranha or whatever, it saw the enemy,
correct,
guided them.
So I get better at shooting.
And
I'm gonna shoot that unit.
And if it's gonna be turn 3, 4, or 5, you said?
Yep, starting on turn 3.
2?
Sustain hits 1 normally, but if you are guided, it's sustain hits 2.
And that's basically going to mean every 6 to hit is either going to be an additional hit or an additional 2 hits if the target is guided. That seems like it's painful.
Seems like a lot of hits.
Very similar to what Kalyan does now, where they get exploding 6s on turn 3, exploding 5s on turn 4.
That was only against like the closest unit, and like there was a couple of caveats to that and stuff too.
So are you? Yeah, you had to be like within 9 inches and the closest, and there was a lot of.
If you fell back, you couldn't do it, and like there was a
lot of play
stuff.
around to try to get around that.
Yeah,
yeah, but this seems like it's just gonna happen to you.
Yeah, and that whole observing thing and like picking targets and stuff, and the fact that drones are now not units, they're just like markers for the units. So like if you have a marker drone, it's just a token, it doesn't actually do anything.
So like if you see a Tau army and it's deceptive because there's no drones on the field, fret not.
You should still have your drones, because depending on what they are, it does different things.
Right, true.
So like, a shield drone just gives the model that has it +1 wound. Mm-hmm. So a crisis suit, like the commander or whatever, who knows, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. Tau seem good.
Yeah, you know what? I think they're going to be good. They tend to have the maneuverability to get around the board, and they have the damage potential to wipe out stuff.
Right now, Tau function like a very mobile gun line, which will pretty much just table you if you allow it to get line of sight to you at the right opportunities. Yep. So it's all a very cat and mouse cagey game. I don't expect their speed to change. I don't expect their firepower to change, and as you can see from the rules that they have, marker lights and the Kalyan ability have just kind of transformed themselves a little bit, but they're functionally the same.
And they have giant guns that kill knights. Like, look at this. The focused beam on the pulse blast cannon on the Storm Surge is 2 shots that hits on 4s, but of course, if I guess you were to guide it, it hits on 3s.
Hey,
Strength
roll
24, so it'll hit... Right. Roll Strength 24, so it'll wound any knight that's toughness 12 on a 2, AP 6, so they go to their invul, just 12 damage. So if you get 2 of these through, you just nuke a knight.
Literally one hits on your 2-shot gun and a rhino dies. Like, just happens.
Like, that seems pretty good.
And I bet the Storm Surge is going to be towering. I feel like that'd be a rule that he has.
I would assume as much.
He's just a big boy,
I think we can kind of put 2 and 2 together. Plus, you know what I think will be really good with Tau? The Overwatch stratagem. Oh, you're gonna move into range of me? Pop!
No.
You're going to...
All right.
Okay, let's tear it.
All right. Where are they going? Load them up.
To be honest, I think they wouldn't. They're gonna be. I'd say about Dark Eldar, like probably demon. What do you think they do against demons? Do you
Not shoot the demons. That's what I think.
Okay, fair enough.
Not shoot the demons.
That's where we put them. I like it.
Okay.
I think that's good. And then if Siegler's playing them, then they go down to D tier.
Exactly. Actually, let's just put them there now.
In case. Take your screenshots right now. Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Okay, so we've got the Thousand Sons, all 1,000 of them. They seem very strong. I don't know if they're going to be gimmicky and unable to necessarily play the mission and score the points because there's speed issues, but the way their Cabal points work and the way their effects work, I think could be
Well, they have
tremendous.
Armon, right, which they showcased, which lets you just use any Cabal thing.
For free.
Right, for free. And then with your Cabal points... Like, 9 Cabal points to just make a unit not be able to take saving throws.
Yeah. And they have a lot of really
Armor
cool...
saving throws.
Armor saving throws. Which you have your Combi Bolter Terminator unit, so I imagine the idea is take every buff you can, much like today, toss it on 10 Terminators, and then make your opponent take a gajillion saves, and,
You can't take saves. Can't take armor saves. Can only take invuls. Oh, no.
Yeah. So,
look, depending on what they do, they have like a teleporty ability, I think, which is Kindred of Sorcery. In your command phase, you can select one ability. You can either give them lethal hits. With the Psychic Weapons get lethal hits, Psychic Weapons get sustained hits, or Psychic Weapons get devastating wounds, which is actually really useful as well. And that's about it. And where is it? The Weaver of Fates?
The Weaver of Fates? Fate Weaver?
No.
Oh.
You can... Was it? Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then you've got the Warp Vortex Beast, which actually has a bunch of different abilities that do damage.
So we don't know too much about Thousand Sons based on the previews, but from what I understand about them, they seem really, really strong. The Terminators and the Ignoring Vulnerable saves, and I believe...
Armor saves.
Did we see any stratagems for them as well?
Yeah, we just saw the Psychic Dominion.
Which is going to be 4+ Feeling Pain against psychic attacks?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't know their stratagems, and I think a lot of their power is going to come from the intricate combos that we're missing, like the stratagems, the psychic powers, etc. They had the foundation to be a really strong codex, but we're just missing the details on them.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think I agree with you. I think we can't really make a full determination.
I feel like with the rules we have in front of us, they're like top of B, low A, but I think they have so much potential to climb.
They do have a lot of potential. I think, if anything, I feel they would be stronger than Genestealer Cult.
Yeah, I think they seem like around there in terms of power. I like that spot.
Yeah, I think, and remember, the last, 3 or 4 in these tiers are, in the middle of the 2 tiers right now.
Don't get super lost in the sauce of every army's individual rank. And this is all kind of a holistic picture to see, all right, if I'm playing one of these factions, they're going to be roughly this powerful.
Yep, and we have one more to go over.
The last...
Now, we're not going to go over Imperial Agents, so honorable mention to Imperial Agents. Assassins.
S tier.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. And Titans.
And Inquisitors.
Well, that's the agents.
Oh,
they're in the same thing. Okay. So they're S tier. We've already declared that. Everybody loves their Eversur assassin, right?
Sure
their Calidus assassin. And then Titans, if you want to take a Manta, you need to play more than 2,000 points. So D tier.
Yeah. So Tau D tier.
Okay. And last but not least, an army that is crushing folks in 9th edition, even when losing World Eaters.
The world's gonna be eaten. So for a faction that only punches and moves, I suppose. Moves and punches.
Yeah.
It's pretty dynamic in 9th. It's between the ability to score secondary points, on a whim, plus the scout moves. They actually have a lot of
Some of the missions seem very good for... the mission you played with the Servo Skulls. Yeah. Imagine having to push those Servo Skulls into a World Eaters army.
The World Eaters army's trying to play the game in your deployment zone. The Servo Skulls, they're going to be there too.
Right. Or the one that they played with the Death Guard, which was there was one objective in the middle and you had to summon the other objectives as the game went. Imagine having to start with only one objective against World Eaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they would love that. That's 2 out of the 9 missions.
It really is. It really is.
There's one mission where you're left with only one objective at the end of the game, and you know which one it is, and the others disappear over the game. World Eaters will also love that mission.
I will also say that another factor for World Eaters is that the way the missions play, the tactical objectives, and even the primaries, it really encourages you to be active on the table, go into these different zones, be in the middle of the board, be in your opponent's side of the field. And whenever you're doing all of those kinds of maneuvers to get points, it inherently brings you closer to the enemy. And while you're oftentimes trying to get close to the enemy so you can punch them, I don't think you necessarily want to get closer to the World Eaters. You know, who's trapped in with who?
That's right. Now, they have called it Yahtzee, right? Mm-hmm. Which is you basically roll a bunch of dice and you take doubles and triples and give yourself a bonus. But, like, if you do the math on how many doubles or triples you get, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost impossible not to get something from this list of 8 things, which is their army rule. Like, you can get +2 to move for your whole army, or advance and charge for your whole army, or a feel no pain for your whole army for that battle round. So it's like a little random, but it seems like it could be very powerful. Say you roll a bunch of 4s and you get +2 to move, and everybody advances and charges for the whole, like your whole army does.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
So the nice thing is with rolling 8 dice, you're guaranteed 2 sets of doubles or a triple. And all of that can be converted into something. So you're never going to roll so bad like you would on today's Warp Storm table for Demons and be like, I just don't get an army rule this turn. You're always going to get something, which is nice.
Yes. Don't worry, we are going to do Space Marines generically. We went through all the faction stuff, so I know the chat's been kind of blowing up about that.
Yeah.
They're just all in like one big thing, so we're just going to dump them all.
Beautiful.
In one
Here's the Space Marine.
Yeah. Or we could use Ultramarines. Let's just use Ultramarines.
Let's use Ultramarines.
Yeah, okay. So, World Eaters, where do you think they would fit?
It is so hard to say without just knowing more context to them, because ultimately they're going to be a punchy army. They're going to hit you.
But Angron.
But Angron. We know what the Demon Gourd cannon from World Eaters does.
Yeah, it shoots.
Lord Skulls.
Yeah, sure.
Without knowing more...
You get sticky objectives if you kill something on an objective. Like, if your unit dies on an objective, you sticky it for a CP.
That's really nice against shooting armies. Yeah. That's actually like, you can't just shoot me off.
Oh, is that objective. The Tau? Blah. Still mine.
Tau, you want to contest this? Come over here. That's actually an amazing rule.
I like that a lot.
I think that strat's going to be used like every turn.
I think they're around Dark Angel-y, you know what I mean?
You think they're dark? I thought they were B tier. I think they're like Orky.
Really? Orky? Well, I guess they are so focused on like one aspect of the game that we can't really tell.
Right now, it is literally their secondary game, which helps them.
And we don't know how that's going to.
We just don't know if that's going to prop them up.
I agree. It's hard to stay, but now we're going to push Blood Angels off. No, Chaos Knights. Boop. Off of the screen.
We're gonna. Do you want to knock both men armies
down?
Yeah,
let's knock them both.
I feel like we should knock Tyranids down too. I feel like all 3 of these can go to C tier, to be honest. Okay. I'm just looking at Space Marines and I'm looking at how they're effectiveness in the rerolls.
If that's the level, I agree. Yeah, I think Tyranids definitely don't do. Blood Angels still have to be.
Blood Angels have to be it. Well, I feel like we're just lying about the Blood Angels, and because we want them in C tier. I really feel like they're a Space Marine army, and
you're such a chill, bro.
Look. I'm not gonna lie. The chat has broken me. Years of doing this has made me understand that if I try to meme a little bit,
where's your thick content creator skin?
Just put the goggles on. There's no comments. There's no comments.
Blinders on. Okay, let's talk about Space Marines.
Okay. So we're only going to show you Ultramarines over here.
A tier. You know, I think they're in A tier too. I think they are.
No, I think they're in A tier as well. I just put them in.
Let's talk about why.
They have amazing rules.
Yes.
Oath
the Moment is fantastic.
And they have a ton of data sheets.
Oh my!
So many.
Like the Codex, the 9th edition Codex has like 300 entries or something ridiculous.
The only way Space Marines really don't come out strong in 10th edition is if they are just ludicrously overcosted. They might be relatively not as powerful as some of the other factions because they have their own points and everything, but because of the nature of Space Marines having rerolls upon rerolls, there's not really much that can survive their damage output.
Yeah.
And by the nature of them having such a variety of data sheets, you can make a strategically flexible army. Go combat, go speed, go shooting, whatever you want. They are jack of all trades by definition.
Yeah.
So without knowing specifically what's going to be good in Space Marines, it's hard to tell me that Space Marines are not going to be good.
Well, the rules themselves are really good. They've also previewed someone like Gulliman, right, who just as a Primarch, and then we've also got, some of the new data sheets they've been showing off, like Terminators, and being able to like rapid insertion them and get all the bonuses, especially with all the data sheets that they showed off in the from the Leviathan box set. Like, there seems to be some really cool synergies. It's hard to not say that Space Marines are going to be somewhere relevant.
I think they're better than CSM, because they always are.
Yes.
That's just
I would agree.
It's a scientific law of Games Workshop. I'm not really sure
I think they might even better than Tau, to be honest.
Yeah, everything's better
and
than
better
Tau.
than Demons.
You're crossing the line. This is the demonic line of no crossing. This is because I'm here. This is because you're here. This is because it's true.
You know what? Fine. Those are sacred spots.
No, but genuinely, I do believe Drukhari and Demons are both incredibly powerful.
Yes,
factions.
I think all three of them: Space Marines, Demons, and Drukhari. I think, and then of course Grey Knights. Not necessarily because we know what the damage output's going to be, or the data sheet's going to be like, or what the meta's going to like against them. But their army rule is fantastically powerful based on the mission set that we have right now. And then Aeldari are just good.
Yeah, I think Aeldari. I played a game with them. I have seen what I have seen. I have far seen. Grey Knights, their generic tactical deep strike rule is amazing, and they have good stats, and indirect fire is always powerful. Drukhari, the reason they're here is because they play the mission phenomenally just by nature of their army's faction, the way the missions work.
Seems like the damage might be very reliable, considering I just get rerolls everywhere.
Reroll hits army-wide seems good. Demons are here because Bellicor says, please don't shoot me, and this army, this army, this army, this army, and this army are all trying to shoot me. So that seems good. Ultramarines are super efficient.
And when he says this army, he is putting the little marker on them, but you can't see the marker in the thing.
I'm glad you caught that. Yes.
So he was...
the other good armies are trying to shoot me, and my demons say, please don't shoot me. Tower here because they're really potent at shooting, great mobility.
Also, we're biased because Siegler lives in this house.
Yeah, you get biased when you play against Sieg's Tower a lot. CSM, the reason I think they're here is because Abaddon's 4+ Invulnerable Save Aura is such an amazing defensive mechanic, and the fact that it works on anything Heretic Astartes that is infantry or mounted. So I'm thinking like Max Accursed Cultist, Max Cultist.
No.
Let's bring back 8th edition. It's the dark times.
I certainly hope that's not a thing. That was terrible in 8th edition.
I mean, do I think that's what a CSM army should be made of? No, it's not really fluffy or thematic. But do I think that it is a powerful build archetype that's fairly obvious and easy to start off with? Yeah, it's right there. Do a lot of players already own it from the Dark Days of 8th edition? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what remains to be seen there. GSC, they're just awesome. Thousand Suns have amazing rules, but we have not seen all of them, so we'll see if it keeps holding up. Dark Angels and Sisters are just like generically good armies.
Yeah, they tend to have, and they can slip, but they also have the potential of having really good rules and mechanics.
Yeah, and then beyond that, B tier just seems like it's got a lot of potential. We need to know more mechanisms about 40k and how these armies function. Points, of course.
And even the front of C tier, like Tyranids, both Knight factions, like we could have clumped probably all of that into BC tier, like just in one. Because right now we don't have a lot of info.
Like it's almost interesting because like S and A tier can kind of hang with each other. Maybe nothing can hang with Eldar and Grey Knights. I don't know. Remains to be seen. But like, definitely S and A tier seem strong. A tier and B tier kind of seem like extensions of each other.
Yeah.
Like A tier is a little bit better than B tier, but they can definitely fight each other. And then similarly, I feel like B tier can fight C tier and vice versa. It's so easy to just put this stuff in C tier into B tier, especially with the few amount of games that we're playing in right now.
Absolutely. Actually, the chat's been really vibrant today, so thank you so much, everybody in chat. Thanks for the super chats and stuff as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you for your joining us. If you think the rankings are off, like some of you certainly do in the chat,
let us know.
Let us know in the comments what you think is good, what you think is bad, and why. We are all working off of such a fraction of the information here, so there's going to be such a wild amount of opinions.
And let's put this in _ opinions.
Let's I am not promising you that upon 10th edition's release date, you take these armies to the tournaments, you will get these. That's not what I'm doing. This is our extrapolation with our experience and our knowledge of 40k, trying to apply some logic here to what we've seen so far. So let us know what you thought. Please be nice to us. You know, we have feelings too.
Don't be nice. Downvote and leave mean comments.
No, don't do any of that. Don't do any of that. Don't listen to Scar. He's a tricksy Archon. Like the video. Don't dislike the video. Subscribe to the channel. Do not unsubscribe from the channel. And check out the free day.
They already did as soon as we put Tau in A tier.
That's true. That's true. Let us know what you thought, everybody. It's been great.
3-day free trial to the War Room.
It's right there.
Use the code and get involved and join us in the Discord and all that good stuff, as well as all the additional content we're doing for 10th edition. There's so much stuff that's going on.
There's so much stuff.
It's crazy.
We are going to be dumping in so much 10th edition content as we get more and more information on it. Obviously, you've seen we've done daily videos for like a month now, and we're not stopping anytime soon. Not to mention, the War Room is already chock full of how to play 10th edition rules and videos. As we get these indexes, we're going to load it up even more. And you may have noticed our production quality has increased a little bit over the past week or so. That is the tip of the iceberg. We're only going up from here, so do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you had a blast. Scary, it's been an absolute pleasure.
This was really fun. 2 hours went by
just
in
like
a snap.
In a snippety snap. Thanks so much, everybody, and we will catch you later.